with the voice talents of Little Karibo as this weird old guy.
Sometimes I buy raw chicken just to feel flesh against mine.
And the incomparable Reina-chan as Chico's sister.
You kids ever tried PCP?
And internet superstar Purple Eyes WTF as this regular guy.
I'm yelling in a dramatic manner!
And of course, starring America's sweetheart, Octopimp as Pico.
Chico, wake up! We have to flee. The Nazis are coming.
And Neo America's future sweetheart, Sparky the Android as Chico.
Yes! Look at all of these balls!
Hello and welcome to another episode of Rolling 20s. We are the show that found out the Great Lakes Avengers are about to become official members of the roster. Gods help us all. I am Jeremy.
Steve, and I did not approve this.
And Jesse, I don't care.
Remember, you can find this show and several others in the MSP library at missionstarpodcast.com. You can like us on Facebook, subscribe to us on iTunes, Stitcher, and on Tumblr. Follow us on Twitter at the Rolling 20s. You can send us any fan mail, suggestions for the show, or hate mail at mspfreight@yahoo.com. That chair is getting a workout. The music you heard is by Machine Supremacy. You can find most of their discography for free download at machinesupremacy.com, as well as their latest couple of albums at amazon.com. The clip you heard is, I guess you could say, a trailer for Boku no Pico Abridged by Octopimp. You can find more of his videos on youtube.com under his channel of Octopimp. It has been 3 long weeks since we've heard from each other.
Yeah. I woke up at like 6:45 last week, and I was like, wait, why did nobody tell me? Are they doing the show without me?
No, I kind of put everything together when Steve woke up and said, "Oh, wait a minute, Jeremy said Long Beach Comic-Con, so no, we're not going to do a podcast this week."
I'm more entertained that Steve woke up and he just said, "They forgot about me." No, I was all over Long Beach. I was the only one from Mission Start there that weekend. It was only 2 days, but when you're the only one working, God, you are just everywhere. And I already did the con over with Anthony. It's up, what happened during the show. But there were 2 very important pieces of news I got out of one panel. I went to the Marvelous panel, one of the first panels that started Long Beach Comic-Con. And it had the current writer of Captain America, Steve Rogers. Nick Spencer was there, the guy that got all the death threats over Hail Hydra.
Oh, right.
Oh.
He was there. He talked a little bit about that. Craig Kyle, the creator of X-23, was there.
Oh.
Brandon Easton was a writer on Agent Carter, and he also was the writer of the Transformers Deviations, where Optimus Prime lived through the events of Transformers the movie. And Andy Park, one of the conceptual artists for Marvel movies, was there. So it was this weird mix of writers and everything. But to cut it short, Brandon Easton, he wrote on the second season of Peggy Carter. He put up 2 pieces of information in one short speech that was really, really interesting, and I'd never heard this before. Number 1, Universal has wow, it's been 3 weeks. You think I would get over this already? Item number 1, Universal has let the rights that they own on the Submariner lapse. Those have reverted back to Marvel.
Oh, damn.
So the Submariner is now in potential play for Marvel Cinematic Universe. But the other thing he revealed was that Season 2 of Peggy Carter is a backdoor prequel to Doctor Strange.
Really?
Yes. Which of you have seen Agent Carter Season 2?
I have not.
I have.
Okay. A lot of what happens in Season 2 revolves around this mysterious stuff called zero matter, correct?
It's been a while, so I don't recall much.
All right, it was this weird dark substance that apparently absorbed a lot of the things it touches. It seemed to absorb energy, matter, everything.
Oh, right. I think I remember this now.
And it was absorbed into the systems of 2 people over the course of the season, a black scientist and the lady who was playing Madame Mask through the season.
Okay, yeah, okay. I didn't even watch the show. I remember that now.
Okay, now while they had it in their system, they kept talking about being pulled to somewhere and occasionally seemed to listen to voices, like something was calling them. Brandon Easton, who wrote on that season, said that the zero matter is also known as dark force energy. This stuff came directly from the Dark Force dimension, which is the home of the Doctor Strange character, the Dread Dormammu.
Okay.
Oh, wonderful.
Now, by the end of Season 2, it was entirely expelled and just seemed to go nowhere. But, as he put it, he just drew the direct connection from the last season of Peggy Carter to Doctor Strange. That doesn't mean we're going to see a crossover or anything, but that does mean that the character has been accessed through Agent Carter. I heard that, and I'm just like, there's not enough characters on Twitter to lay out what this means. I listened to that. I listened to that, and that blew my mind. I never connected the series to the movie before. And I also got to talk to the creator of X-23 for a little bit and listen to his opinions on Laura Kinney now being Wolverine, and he has this weird mixed take on it. It was pretty cool. So, what did you guys do? That was my interesting weekend.
I bought a lot of crap and went to a con.
Which one?
Colossus Con, so a local thing that has popped up.
Where was it?
In Merced, in our town.
Somebody actually decided to spend money in Merced and make a convention?
It seems on their website. It seems like they're doing like small microcons all up and down California. Actually, only have two. One here in Merced and one in Pleasanton in April.
Okay, how was it?
Inexpensive.
Oh, that's a ringing endorsement. Can you elaborate a little bit?
Two halls were used. One's held a bunch of arcade cabinets that came from our generation.
I assume you mean working arcade cabinets, not just
working arcade cabinets.
Look at this empty box with no monitor.
Other than that, basically the main hall comprised of all vendors and a bunch of guests, of which I cannot recall any of their names. Okay,
sounds like fun.
Yeah, spent 2 hours there. Say, okay, I've seen everything.
All right, would you visit this organization again?
Only for the cosplay, because they came out in groves.
Groves? They grew out of the ground?
Yeah, pretty much.
Because the word is droves usually with the
droves.
T,
Okay,
right?
Whatever.
Because it makes it sound like everybody dressed up as an orange tree and showed up at the convention. They came out in groves.
The new California Adventures.
Oranges, apples. Oh, don't talk to them. They're the bananas.
No, but yeah, I saw a lot of cosplayers.
I don't know. I have a personal problem with grapes.
Hey, I'm half grape. Now, what did you do, Steve?
Not a whole hell of a lot, because I thought we were, doing the con over on Saturday, so I had no plans. And then I thought we were going to be playing Jesse's new D&D game on Sunday, and he was just like, nope, I'm just finishing off character creation for everybody playing.
Oh.
So, yeah, I did a whole hell of a lot of nothing. I think I played Diablo 3 for a while.
Gee, okay. What a wild and crazy guy you are.
Yeah.
Because I was at the recruitment picnic for ALA this year. I mean, I know we don't plan on staffing, but I was just going out there to be congenial. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And somebody just asked me, so what are you up to in a little bit? And I just kind of sat there, looked at this guy, and said, huh. Well, at the end of October, I have to go to Kamikaze and meet up with a couple members of my podcast. In November, I have to go to Las Vegas and some final plans for a convention. Then I have to go back at the beginning of December for the convention and host panels. Then at New Year's, I have to go to Disneyland for 4 days with a bunch of friends and family. Then at the end of January, I have to do ALA, of course, or Anime Los Angeles. Then at an Easter weekend, I have to go to WonderCon. And somewhere in between, I might have to go to Long Beach Comic Expo. Now that I've said that out loud, I am such an a-hole. I don't know how this is going to work. And I stopped because I realized nobody was speaking. I looked, and there's 3 people staring at me like, he's a time traveler.
He knows the good ones to go to. Wait, he just named them all. Damn it.
But I mentioned I was doing a podcast, and one guy was just like, you have a great voice for it. You sound pretty good. It's like, that's... I'm married. I mean, I don't quite... Okay, thank you. So I got into a long conversation about comic books, and people heard I was doing like Disneyland, got into a long conversation about that. Barely talked to anybody about Anime Los Angeles. It all turned into comic books and Disney somehow. So it was like right back in my comfort zone. The subject of this week is Wakfu, the French animated series, episodes 1 through 3 from Season 1. We'll get to that after we get through our news of the week. And when it comes to Marvel media news, that's where we talk about stories of Marvel properties that are headed for movie screens, TV screens, internet screens, books, interesting flyers that you find on the side of the highway, everywhere but the comic book pages. And as of September 8th, it is official. The first set photos have been released via Instagram, and the Russo brothers have started filming Avengers Infinity War.
Oh, damn.
When I say filming, right now they're doing pre-production and motion capture. The actual live-action filming of people in costume should occur beginning early next year. So right now it's all the pre-production work and the stuff that requires a lot of computer rendering. The first images they gave out was Josh Brolin sitting on a set in a motion capture suit. So that means Thanos has begun his work. Can you believe all this started almost a decade ago when Robert Downey Jr. said at the end of a long movie, "Yes, I am Iron Man."
It's hard to believe it's been that long.
Yeah. I know. And by the time this movie comes out, it'll have been a full decade since the Marvel Cinematic Universe began. Although technically, I guess "I am Iron Man" aren't the words that started all this. I guess the words would be from Samuel L. Jackson. We're calling it the Avengers Initiative.
Yeah.
And it's wild to think what's going on, and last we heard, 68 Marvel characters will be in Infinity War.
Good Lord.
That's last we heard. That's not to say that characters won't be added or subtracted. That's back before they actually started filming.
Right.
And you know how these things go. Even while you're filming, the script may have a couple edits. So we shall see who makes it to the end. In both the sense of casting and the sense of who lives through this monster. But if you want to talk more immediate, the Doctor Strange film comes out this fall. This coming fall. It is less than 2 months till this movie is released. And they have moved up the release date of Doctor Strange.
To?
In the United Kingdom.
Oh.
In the United States, or in all of North America, actually, Doctor Strange is scheduled to come out November 4th. In the UK, the movie was originally scheduled to come out October 28th. It is now scheduled to come out October 25th. No direct reasons have been given for the schedule change. All we know is that apparently the British are much more important than we are when it comes to the movie going public at this point.
Or the Brits. They'll spend money on it.
Yeah, send it out to Britain and Ireland first. You know them. They're too lazy to post spoilers. Actually, Benedict Cumberbatch did have something to say recently. He had an interview in regards to making the film Doctor Strange, and believe it or not, he was not the only one up for consideration in this role.
Okay.
He almost had to pass on this movie simply because of scheduling conflicts. So, Marvel Studios and Disney started looking at other high-profile actors, including Joaquin Phoenix, Ryan Gosling, and even Jared Leto, the man who played the Joker in the recent Suicide Squad film. Which gives me this weird image of Doctor Strange with a bunch of metal teeth. Not something I want to say, let alone, could you imagine Jared Leto for 3 months being method behind that set? He'd be running around pulling napkins out of people's ears and, making flowers out of magic wands and stuff. He'd be driving people insane. But, apparently, to keep Cumberbatch on this film, they moved Doctor Strange from a summer 2016 release to a fall 2016 release. As Cumberbatch himself said, quote, "If you can't jump on board when the ride's going past, that's usually it. So the hugest compliment they paid me was to come back to me. It motivated me to try to fulfill their faith in me," unquote. It was the director of Doctor Strange, Scott Derrickson, who fought hard to make the schedule work around Benedict Cumberbatch's project schedule. We're about to find out.
That does say quite a bit, yeah.
Yeah, but we're about to find out if that paid off. Sometimes these gambits can turn on you.
Yeah, I don't know. From what I've seen so far, it looks promising.
I'm interested in it because it's very different from the other movies Marvel's put out thus far. But that's also what seems to be turning off a lot of people. Hey, this isn't like the 20 other films I've seen. Why are they making this? So, we can only wait and see. Somebody else who's really starting to get into the idea of her role is Brie Larson, cast as Carol Danvers, a.k.a. Captain Marvel, in not just a solo film, but will apparently debut earlier than that.
Which one?
That's the thing, is that there's a word that she will appear in Infinity War, but it hasn't been locked down as of yet. And I don't mean by shooting schedule, I just mean nobody's confirming or denying that she will appear in Infinity War first.
Right.
She recently said, quote, "The thing that's been the most exciting now is on social media. I get sent a lot of pictures of young girls in the Captain Marvel costume, and I'm excited to see more of that. She's such a great symbol for young girls, and I'm realizing what a deficit we have, so that we don't have more of those. I think it's really cool to see a girl in a Batman costume or a Spider-Man costume, but I'm really excited that there's a symbol of women," unquote. I won't argue that Captain Marvel is a powerful female character, man, both a military member and a just about a cosmic-level superhero.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to see what she looks like in costume, but there's just no telling even which version of the costume they're going to use until it comes. But news I didn't expect yet, because there is no formal schedule announced as of yet, is that an actor has been cast to play a villain in the upcoming Netflix Punisher series.
Ooh.
Ben Barnes has reportedly been cast. Barnes most recently has been a villain in the upcoming Westworld series for HBO. I don't know. It doesn't say what character he is, but supposedly he will be playing the character of Bobby Saint in the Punisher series.
Bobby Saint.
If I had to draw a parallel, did you see the Thomas Jane Punisher film?
Is that the first or the second one?
That is the, technically it is the second one that was made, because the first one was Dolph Lundgren.
Yeah. Okay. The first modern one. Gotcha.
Yes. If you recall, John Travolta played an underworld boss called Howard Saint.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Bobby's one of his sons.
Bobby was the one that had
a grenade.
Grenade.
I don't know exactly, because there was so much focus on Howard Saint as the primary villain. It sounds like Ben Barnes' character of Bobby Saint in the Netflix show is going to play more of a prominent role. I don't know about primary antagonist, but he's definitely going to be a featured role in the series.
Mm-hmm.
So it sounds like, I don't think the Punisher is going to come out before Defenders, but it does sound like if they're casting, the way Netflix works, I would imagine the series is probably going to be out in about the next 14 to 16 months. So I'm extremely curious to see how that show develops. One show that we know is already in the midst of the development is the Iron Fist series.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
There's no firm date yet as to when that comes out. However, it's very likely to be somewhere around the spring of 2017.
They already have one trailer out for it.
Really?
Or a teaser, anyway.
I was about to say, not trailer. I would have heard about a trailer. I would have been panting, probably, from a trailer. But there was a tweet, an Instagram post, that Finn Jones, the actor who's playing Danny Rand, the Iron Fist in the series, he put it out, and he deleted it very quickly, which is leading some people to think that he may have revealed something he wasn't supposed to reveal at this point. And this is apparently a quote from a prominent character in the Iron Fist mythos that may come from the TV show. The character is called Lee Kung the Thunderer. He is one of the immortal weapons from the Iron Fist mythos. The quote, "Daniel, wait. Do you know the secret of forever? I want to tell you something my father once told me. Decapitation, asphyxiation, blunt trauma, strangulation, any number of paths to a single result. Your heart stops beating. Don't you see? All death comes from the heart. Armor yourself. Make your body hard and keep your heart soft. If you can protect your heart, you will never die. This is the secret of forever. You may feel an outsider now, but one day, if you can earn it, you will be invited to eat the fruit of immortality, and then you will truly be among us." Unquote. It is hard for me to say when in the series that would be, because I think flashbacks to the time in Kunlun are unavoidable for any sort of exposition on this character.
Yeah.
But that's a very Zen Buddhist quote. Well, what do you think? If that's an example of dialogue from the show, holy cow.
Yeah.
If that's just a quote from the comic book that he's misappropriated, holy crap, people are going to feel bad. There is confirmation as to the villain of the last Hugh Jackman Wolverine film, The Wolverine 3.
Okay.
And if you've been paying attention to Fox's last few films, this will be no surprise whatsoever. Mr. Sinister will be the primary antagonist.
Yep.
That makes sense.
Sinister was alluded to, not seen, but alluded to, at the end of X-Men Apocalypse, in a post-credit scene, which also seemingly set up the potential origin of Laura Kinney, a.k.a. X-23, a.k.a. Talon, a.k.a. Wolverine with boobs. What? It's true.
Yeah.
You don't have to be blunt about it.
It's who she is. Last up in Marvel media news, a clip was released while we were out. As of September 9th, a new trailer for the Legion TV series coming to FX. The series about Professor Xavier's schizophrenic and multi-powered son, David Heller. Want to see if this is going to be any good?
Yeah.
Give it a shot.
You guys sound more worried about it than anybody all of a sudden.
Well, it is a
Fox,
TV show, and yeah.
All right. Don't cry. I sent the video. Okay, so
Kind
two
of
people
sitting...
staring rather menacingly.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Whoa.
that's a lot of drool. That's it? What the
That
frick?
doesn't say anything.
That was nothing! Oh my god, this big deal was across the internet. The first clip from the first promo from Legion is released, and it's two people wondering, what's the mucus with the mouth thing? That's all it is. Wow.
And those that are looking for comedy might want to look at this. I say, show me something.
I don't know about comedy. That was kind of dark. I was kind of hoping Aubrey Plaza sitting there was one of Legion's multiple personalities. I thought he was about to have a conversation with himself like Mr. Robot style, but it turned out to be absolutely nothing to sink your teeth into. Holy damn it, I just got entertainment blue balls from that. What the hell? Oh, I'm almost disappointed.
Look, there's these three characters in this show.
Yeah. Does any of them matter? We'll let you find out when Legion opens this spring. Next bracket is DC Media News. We'll talk about the other major company and their multimedia properties coming soon to you. Jeff Johns is opening up in his new role as the co-head of DC Cinematic Universe. And he's using words that I think are necessary right now. We'll just have to see if he can get past the other guy to make it work. Because he is now promising a more hopeful and optimistic DC movie universe, starting with the Justice League.
Okay. Big words.
I know. He recently told the Wall Street Journal, quote, "Mistakenly in the past, I think the studio has said, oh, DC films were gritty and dark, and that's what makes them different. That couldn't be more wrong. It's a hopeful and optimistic view of life. Even Batman has a glimmer of that in him. If he didn't think he'd make tomorrow better, he'd stop," unquote.
I
wholeheartedly
agree, actually.
Yeah.
I applaud the words, but let's hold off on saying that Batman has a glimmer of hope till we see a movie where Batman has a glimmer of hope, please. Because that last movie they used him in, you'd almost swear that like every time he goes home, he finds a dead puppy in a box. You know what I mean? There was nothing happy about that man. Even when he saved a woman's life from a gang of armed thugs and looked like a beast doing it, he still looked like, okay, I'm going to go and sulk now. Martha. Name is Martha. Never get over Martha.
That's
well,
going to
I will point out
along
that, he
bat
just
nipples.
almost killed her son, so he was probably feeling a little bit guilt.
Okay. Well, Johns and his co-head John Berg worked closely with Justice League director Zack Snyder and the screenwriter Chris Terrio to make the film closer to their vision of the DC universe. So it sounds like somebody wrapped a chain choker around Zack Snyder and said, heal? Berg said, quote, "We accelerated the story to get to the hope and optimism a little faster," unquote.
So they're paper training him. Here, read these comics.
It wouldn't surprise me if every time Zack Snyder is about to yell "roll it," somebody just said, "Look, squirrel!" Okay, while he's gone, quick, roll. Yeah. They also assert that the Justice League is going to address the level of violence Batman was willing to commit in the prior film, saying that won't be par for the course. Oh my God, Batman has a conscience? Oh, thank goodness. The article also asserts that plans for Justice League Part 2 were scrapped.
Wow.
It's unclear if that's a new development or if an extension of earlier reports about Justice League and its Part 2 that was originally slated have been renamed or just entirely canned. The movie is currently filming right now in London for a release November 16th, 2017. I do think, as much as 7 characters usually requires 2 parts to tell a coherent story, I think, unfortunately, they would be kind of caught underneath the strain of, well, the Avengers did it in 2.
Yeah, but they had a slew of movies ahead of time setting up every one of these characters.
I'm not saying it's rational, but you know how the internet works. They will find anything to complain about and blow it up into this tremendous supposed issue.
You don't have to tell me. I hear it all the time. I try to tune it out. It's hard.
Look, if Johns and his partner Berg are working this well to try and create something in the DC Cinematic Universe that doesn't feel like the entire world is teetering on a knife's edge and Katana's about to slit the planet in 2, I'm all for it, man. You know, that's been the biggest difference to me so far in the DC and Marvel films, is that the Marvel characters, by the end of the day, they didn't have that I quit moment that a lot of the DC characters seem to have in their cinematic universe thus far.
Well, wait. Well, we'll see what you think after you get done with Peter Parker, Spider-Man.
I don't know. So far, the clips I saw of his high school life were strained, but he didn't give up. Those were actually a lot of fun to watch.
True, but he has quit plenty of times in comics.
That's in comics, not in films.
True.
You know, also in comics, he's like, what, 29?
Oh, yeah, you're right.
We did get a first look while we were out of Batman's new suit that's going to be used in the Justice League film. It's being called the Tactical Bat Suit.
What do we call the old one that they're using Batman v Superman?
You know me, I used to call it duct tape. But, it was... I'm not saying that because that's what they use. I'm saying that because every picture I saw, that's what it looked like. But remember, half the pictures I saw in production were black and white. You know what I mean? The image was released on IO9 of what this suit looks like. It looks like it's a throwback to the Christopher Nolan a little bit. You can see the pads and the extra armor. However, the goggles that he's wearing on his head, I'm sure they serve some kind of official function. But I've seen a lot of people online compare this look to the Owl Man from The Watchmen.
Yeah.
Which, coincidentally, were both directed by the same guy. I'm not saying he designed both costumes, but there is a parallel to be drawn. What are your opinions?
I didn't think much until you point out the goggles. Like, okay, that's the only thing that's really bothering me.
I think I'd like this picture better, but there is one spark that at the time they took this photo was right at the tip of his nose, so it looks like Batman has this hawk nose thing going on.
Yeah.
So I could use a cleaner photo to make an opinion. It's not terrible. You know, in the history of Batman, there have been a lot of costumes that look like this, both in video games and comic books. You know, let alone I think it looks a lot like the one Nolan used in a couple of his films, especially in the latter ones.
Seems to be like
kind of reminds me a little bit of like the video games too.
Yeah.
It looks a bit like the Arkham City? No. Arkham Knight. Looks a bit like the one from Arkham Knight. I'm going to reserve judgment on this because I see the beginnings of something rather interesting here, but one still does not tell a picture in a movie.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't have a huge problem with it. I do think he's missing an armor plate in the cup area.
What is it with you and cod pieces?
I'm not saying he's not wearing a codpiece. I'm just saying, you know, there's no visible armor there, and that seems like a really bad place not to.
I never spent that long studying Batman's balls. Tell me more.
That was at a glance, dude. I don't know about you.
You took a longer look than I did, for sure.
I guess. I'm just looking at the armor pieces and going, damn. Somebody kicks him in the nuts and Batman's going down.
Jesse, has he ever talked about your armor pieces? I'm really curious here.
What armor pieces?
Ah, see, he has looked. There has been a new casting announced, as well as a character announcement for the Ben Affleck solo Batman film, the one he's both starring and directing in. And they took a pathway that, while is very reasonable for the DC Cinematic Universe, I would say is a breath of fresh air and was probably very necessary. True Blood actor Joe Manganiello has reportedly been cast as the primary villain in the solo Batman film Deathstroke the Terminator.
Okay.
Slade Wilson will, as far as we know, be the primary antagonist for the Batman film. I read that and I'm just like, you have my attention now. That's pretty cool. Because as far as movie making is go, no one has dug in that particular hole.
Yeah.
Wrong choice of words. Wrong choice of words.
Exactly.
Nobody has picked up on that particular rivalry. How about that?
Too late. You already said it.
Now see, he's looking at your codpiece again, Jesse. Run.
What, he's got X-ray vision too? God damn it.
Well, due to, even though Suicide Squad so far has earned about $720 million, I don't think it's earned what was expected. However, one of the standout performances in the Suicide Squad has gotten their own movie greenlit. No official announcement as to date, however, it is official that Margot Robbie will be cast in a solo Harley Quinn film. According to the Hollywood Trade, Robbie will star and produce the spin-off film.
Oh, wow. Okay.
All right.
I don't know what she did behind the scenes, but she obviously got someone at Warner Brothers' attention if she's allowed to help produce the movie. You know, that's just proof that she's pretty and she has a pretty good brain going on back there. And it's not one of those token executive produce roles. She is a full-blown producer on the movie.
Nice.
I mean, I haven't seen Suicide Squad, but a solo Harley Quinn project, as long as you don't tell me that, like, you know, the directors of the Suicide Squad or Zack Snyder are working on it, you could probably get me interested with a good trailer. How about you guys?
Yeah. No, I mean, that's the one thing. I mean, I haven't seen Suicide Squad either, but that's the one thing I keep hearing from people that have is that, you know, there were good performances and bad performances, and she was definitely at the top of the list in every single, you know, one that I heard.
I've seen the movie myself. I have nothing against her performance, but I think they're cashing in on something that I just hope they do it justice and not to just do it as a cash grab because it's popular.
If I have one request, it would be to modify the Harley Quinn costume. I would just request no booty shorts. It's always been one of those things that creates kind of a disconnect for me in my interest in the character, at least in the cinematic version.
She's always had different outfits in different video games and comics, so it's like it shouldn't be.
I grant you that, but usually when she's wearing a skirt in the video games and comics, it's for a playful reason, and then all of her other costumes have some kind of long leg coverage. This movie is the first time she's worn short shorts, as far as I can see. Oh, excuse me, I need to correct myself. The New 52 had her in booty shorts.
Yeah, I was going to say.
However, I wasn't a fan of that costume either. But Margot Robbie's good news doesn't end there. Saturday Night Live has their season premiere later this year, and she gets to host. Saturday Night Live is scheduled to begin their season on October 1st. Wow, that's coming up really soon. As her companion and musical guest, according to Variety, they generally don't release the details as to who that will be. So it's very likely she'll do something related to some of her more recent roles. Chris Pratt had to do it when he hosted the show. Now, when it comes to DC's TV universe, or more specifically the DCW, as it's come to be known, in regards to the Flash, it has recently been said that the Flashpoint storyline will leave some things forever broken on the show.
All right.
According to the Flash executive producer Andrew Kreisberg, he recently told Entertainment Weekly, quote, "It will be resolved, but there will be consequences that last throughout the season, and quite frankly, last throughout the series. That's one of the things we're attempting to do, is have the pitfalls of time travel be long-lasting, and that some things can be fixed, and then other things are broken forever," unquote. I really significantly hope so, not just because, events like this should have lasting effects, but also because you don't want time travel to become a quick fix-all on the show.
No, very true.
Which, unfortunately, has happened a couple different ways. So far in the show, all the messing with time travel has come out to major benefit, and nothing's been seriously tampered with. But, yeah, this next one, the Flashpoint, there better be something lasting that just cannot be put back. There's confirmation of another upcoming film, according to Vulture. Greg Berlanti, he recently confirmed that this movie does exist, but it will not be connected to the larger DC Cinematic Universe. And I guess that won't be a surprise when you find out who the main character in this film is. It's Booster Gold.
Okay.
The partially inept character from the Justice League International and best friend of Ted Kord Blue Beetle, Booster Gold is getting his own film, but it will not share the connective tissue to the rest of the DC Cinematic Universe.
Will there be a Ted Kord to go with him?
There's been no word on that whatsoever. It is supposedly a Booster Gold solo film. I guess my question would be, is it no connective tissue because you decide to make just this random superhero comedy in the midst of it all? Or is there no connective tissue because this is the beginning of Booster Gold in the far-flung future, and the movie, in the second or third act, brings him back into the cinematic universe? Backwards in time.
I just hope
that will be a smart decision.
I just hope they don't sit there and take this, and say, like, look, we did a comedy and it failed, so this is why we do the grim dark.
I don't think they need to do that because so far the grim dark has hurt them more than the comedy.
I don't know.
At least,
it just seems so random for them to just pull this character out.
Yeah. Further on, when it comes to DC's TV universe and the DCW, a new trailer has been released for the second season of Supergirl, the first official season that will be fully connected to The Flash, The Arrow, and The Legends of Tomorrow. Want to see?
Sure.
Yeah.
It's amazing when it comes to the videos from this universe, you guys suddenly turn into, yeah, all right.
I just don't watch a lot of TV anymore.
I have, and it's been a bit lackluster for me on that side of the fence.
Okay, you do watch a lot of TV. It's all Japanese.
Okay, that's true.
I sent the video. Ooh.
Ground control has lost communication with
Look, there's Kat. She does exist.
They fear something catastrophic may have occurred.
Oh, there's the Man of Steel. You actually have to have he actually gets to have a face this season. You must feel good about that.
We can only hope wherever he is,
she's watching this.
He's seeing this.
Yeah. Okay, he looks better shaved. He looks more like what I would stereotypically picture as Superman. Because the promo images, he had that 5 o'clock shadow, and it looked a little odd.
I
can't say it's enough to draw me back into the series definitively, but I'll probably watch a season premiere to get a feel to see if CW has changed the formula at all. I'll be curious to know if she ends up in some functional city within the universe instead of National City, a.k.a. downtown Los Angeles. It's true, man. I got tired of seeing the U.S. Bank building in the background. One DC show that has been shopped around it has now found a home and even a pilot order. Man, that was fast. Greg Berlanti has managed to land the Black Lightning TV show at Fox.
Oh.
What the hell, man?
I don't like
it's
Fox. They
It's
have
a TV
forever
network.
earned my ire.
Over what?
Over lots of things. Lots and lots of canceled shows, but mainly Firefly.
There's lots of canceled shows out there. You can't hold that one against them the entirety of their lifetime.
Oh, yes, I can.
We have
You are a petty prick.
You know what? If the show's good, I'll watch it. But if they cancel it, then that's just like, you know what? I was right.
Oh, this will be about a version of the character Black Lightning, a.k.a. Jefferson Pierce, who's older and retired and has to bring back his costume when one of his daughters gets into seeking justice.
Oh, right. That actually does sound kind of amusing.
Interesting, yeah.
All I can hope is that if they make this TV series, please, please, for the love of Pete, make it have nothing at all to do with Gotham.
That is the one show that they have not linked. But it is supposed to be like a prequel before Batman comes. So.
I understand it is a prequel, but it is a dumpster fire of a TV show. I watched the season premiere, and they've done it. They killed my interest, all of it. I can't take any more.
Wow.
The animated film that harkens back to the Batman 66 series, Batman Return of the Caped Crusaders, is actually getting a theatrical release.
Okay.
Just like the animated Killing Joke, it is getting a special one-day event where it is being released in theaters via Fathom Events. It's going to happen this October 10th. It'll be a few days after the full footage debuts at this upcoming New York Comic-Con.
I'm pretty sure that would get a better reception than the Killing Joke did.
Well,
I think it would be hard to get a worse one.
Yeah.
Hopefully the guy that was, cursing at the crowd is not in charge of this one.
I mean, I'm trying to imagine Adam West standing there saying, "So, Barbara, do you like the look of my bat tights?"
God damn it, I got this voice in my head.
I thought that was a crap impression. Thank you.
It was, but...
It was, but he's got a distinct voice that I can't forget.
Batlube.
I hate you.
Well, a canceled DC series is getting its second life via video release. As of October 4th, the complete series of Constantine is being released on DVD, Blu-ray, and on streaming devices. I don't have much else to say beyond that. I mean, the series is not coming back, but at least now fans of it have the opportunity to buy it.
Yeah.
And last up in DC media news, what is the way to put this? An indefinitely suspended project is back.
What?
As of September 6th, the Batman Return to Arkham game collection is back on the release schedule. If you recall, those were the updated for current console versions of Batman Arkham City and Batman Arkham Asylum, the two Warner Brothers and Rocksteady collaboration games.
Yeah.
They were originally slated to be released on July 26th. They are now scheduled to be released on October 18th, the middle of next month.
Wow. That just came out of nowhere.
Well, the story came out not long after our break started. The story of the return broke on September 6th. So it was one of those stories I held on to because we've talked about it a couple times, and this seemed like an important callback that we just, we had to mention as fans of the games. They are coming again. So I'm not sure if I would spend the minimum of $30 per game to put them on current consoles.
Yeah.
But I would watch like a hawk for the sales.
Oh, yeah.
As soon as those come down to about 15 apiece, yeah, those would make good additions to the library in addition to the Arkham Knight. You can bet they're not going to re-release these on any more consoles. Now we have general media news. We talk about the multimedia properties that are generally not Marvel and DC related, but do matter to nerds all around the world. The first up is technically Marvel related, but you'll understand why I stuck it here, simply because there are businessmen out there who want to know if you look like Doctor Strange.
Okay.
Really?
Yes, because as of September 26th, a tryout is being held at Disney's Animal Kingdom seeking males from 5'11 to 6'2 with an athletic build to play Doctor Strange as one of their character actors around the park.
Wow. If you can pull it off, do it, guys.
Well, that means they're not even wasting time, because that means probably like about a week before the movie's released, hey, this new character is coming out, he's already in Disney parks. And if you look at all like Benedict Cumberbatch, for God's sake, run fast and Scotch guard your uniform, please. You'll find no peace. The first images have been released of promotional posters featuring parts, at least, of the Zords in the upcoming Power Rangers film.
Oh, I keep forgetting about that.
Yeah, this is the modern version with the armor that looks more grown on than spandex and,
Yeah.
weird TV effects. I sent you guys the link so you could take a look for yourselves. And you can see the first full image there is of the character playing Kimberly, the Pink Ranger, and what looks to be the crook in the wings of the Pteranodon she flies. I've looked through all these posters, and I got to say that the small glimpses I get of the Zords, they look more like G1 Transformers than the recent Transformers movies. You know, the second image there is of, what was that, Billy and his Mastodon? No. Zack and his Mastodon. The third image is of Billy and the Triceratops. There we go.
Yeah.
The fourth image is of Jason, and I'm going to assume that is the tail of the T-Rex there.
Gotta be.
And the fourth image is of Trini on one of the haunches of the saber-toothed tiger. You know, I'm kind of surprised at how little detail there appears to be on each of these, although I guess I should put that in context. I mean, these are supposed to be regular people sitting on things that are minimum about 20 stories tall.
Rather curious how these will combine in the end, because you know that's going to happen.
Yeah, these are supposedly the actual theatrical release posters. Any opinions regarding this? It's not really stoking...
I kind of wish that these weren't so alien-looking.
Yeah, it's not really pushing my interest one way or the other. It's just kind of there in my mindset.
The Rita Repulsa looks really trippy, too.
Yeah, there have been a lot of people talking about how she looks, and I like the look, and I like Elizabeth Banks as an actress. I still don't know if I have any interest in this film. You know, Power Rangers came out just when I was in the middle of high school. So, I don't know. I'm not guaranteeing I'd spend money on it, and if I did, it would probably be a matinee. A Top Cow comic series is getting a release via Hulu. They're making an original TV series about Top Cow's original comic, Postal. Postal is set in a small town called Eden where criminals go to get a second chance at a normal life. That's a bizarre concept. Sounds like Marvel's Pleasant Hill without the guards.
Yeah.
I don't know about comic, but I gotta say, as a TV show, that's an interesting concept. I would need to know more about the characters in it before I made a decision, though.
Yeah.
Well, you guys enjoying the Star Wars movies that have released so far? You gonna go see Rogue One?
Planning on it.
Yeah, kind of depends on my schedule, but I'm sure I will see it at some point.
Okay, Steve, I'm going to need you to free up more of your schedule.
Okay.
According to The Wrap, Disney President Bob Iger made it clear that they have plans for Star Wars stretching into 2021 and beyond.
Aha.
He said, quote, I had the meeting yesterday with Kathy Kennedy and we mapped out, we reviewed the Star Wars plans that we have till 2020. We have movies in development for Star Wars till then. And we just started talking about what we're going to do in 2021 and beyond. So she's not just making a Star Wars movie, she's making a Star Wars universe of sorts, unquote. Why is it I have the feeling that as they were talking about Star Wars, Bob Iger was just sitting in front of a cash register listening to it ring? You know, because even bad movies in this universe make ungodly amounts of money.
Well, I will go see movies if they keep making good ones. I don't know about the bad ones.
Might go see the next Star Wars movie starring Hayden Christensen, will you?
No.
Little bit of Sith Lord Jar Jar Binks?
That I would actually see, because that's a little more, believable to me.
His Sith name would be Jar Jar Bad Guy. There was some unfortunate news that happened just this past Monday, though. The creator of Space Ghost Coast to Coast, C. Martin Croker, he passed away.
Oh.
Oh, yeah, I heard about that.
He wasn't just the creator of the show, he was also known as the voice of Space Ghost's unwilling co-hosts Zorak and Moltar on the Cartoon Network show. He passed away at age 54.
Wow, really?
Yes. A journalist and critic called Sean Collins wrote a piece for Grantland. They called it The Phantom Feint, Space Ghost Coast to Coast, secretly TV's most influential show. The quote from it is, quote, from its bargain basement launch in 1994 to its place at the center of the wildly popular Adult Swim lineup in the 2000s, Space Ghost Coast to Coast helped introduce cringeworthy comedy to the American viewing public, deconstructed the idea of the talk show beyond a beyond repair for a generation of comedians and change the look and feel of the entire animation art form, unquote. That is really high praise.
Yeah. I personally hated that comedy form, but...
Yeah. Not a huge fan of it, but...
Well, Croker died of undisclosed causes. They have not said what he passed away from. In Croker's honor, recently, the entirety of Space Ghost Coast to Coast Run has been recast on Cartoon Network's website. I would say he deserves a bit more than that.
Well, it's early yet. There may be other plans.
I know, they need to shift TV schedules and sudden changes. I'm not saying they're not going to do anything. I'm just saying something more needs to be done. That's all.
Yeah.
Because he did create the first show that turned into a seminal lineup for that network for a very long time. But a trailer to a movie has been released, and I watched the trailer just because it happened in the middle of our break. Now that I've seen it, I have got to see this movie. There's no question anymore. I have to see it. The first trailer was released to Disney's Moana.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
The CG animated film about the first Polynesian Disney princess. And holy crap, this movie comes out November 23rd. I'm not going to ask, I'm just going to give it to you, because after watching this, I had to stifle myself. I had uncontrollable urges to laugh, but at 6 in the morning, it's not generally good for the other people in the house. I sent the video. Island in the middle of the Pacific.
This peaceful island has been
Looks like this is a new standard when it comes to Disney animation.
Whoa.
Look at that lava, man. That's freakish. Water looks good.
Demigod Maui. And together they will save us.
Looks like a significant... I wonder what's with the glowing line. Now a little peace after getting thrown in underneath a storm, right?
A boat!
And girly squeal. What is with the chicken?
Demigod of the wind and sea. I am
Hero of men.
What?
It's actually Maui, shapeshifter, demigod of the wind and sea, hero of men. I interrupted from the top. Hero of men. Go. I'm not going on a mission with some little girl.
This is my canoe, and you will journey to different...
Off.
Whoa.
Did not see that coming.
Ocean is a friend of mine.
Must rock when 2/3 of the planet is your friend, right?
Yeah.
Seriously, what is with the chicken?
Taco. What?
It looks like Miyazaki's coming to attack, doesn't it?
Cute.
It looks like Miyazaki movies are coming to kill you with those little things.
I don't know, the chicken does throw me a little bit because I don't know if they had chickens in Polynesia.
It's Maui time!
Maui time. They had to have chickens, otherwise they wouldn't know what everything else tastes like.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Darts.
Really? Blow dart in my butt cheek.
We're going to the realm of monsters.
That is a deep drop.
It's a lot farther down than it looks.
Cannonball!
Listen. I am unnaturally sold on this film.
Yeah. I don't know. I think he has the advantage that he can still turn into a bird and fly. I don't know if I would jump.
I think he still has the advantage because he can do the people's elbow on a whim. It took you a second, didn't it?
Yeah, I kind of forgot who was voicing him.
Well, I have news that makes me really disappointed in CBS.
Oh?
Yeah, we went to San Diego Comic-Con, and the posters and the merchandise were everywhere about Star Trek's 50th anniversary this year, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Not only that, they announced this new series, Star Trek Discovery, is supposed to start late this year. Star Trek Discovery has now been delayed by 4 to 5 months. It is no longer going to occur this year. According to executive producers Alex Kurtman and Brian Fuller's statement on the wrap, quote, "We aim to dream big and deliver, and that means making sure the demands of physical and post-production for a show takes place entirety in space. We need to meet an air date, and the need to meet an air date don't result in compromised quality. Before heading into production, we evaluated these realities with our partners at CBS, and they agreed. Star Trek deserves the very best, and these extra months will help us achieve a vision we can all be proud of," unquote.
Okay. But doesn't that kind of negate the fact that it's the 50th year anniversary?
More than a bit. But I guess my disappointment is they've been working on this series for quite a while. And it seems to have been backseated, more or less, to something else or whatever else CBS is working on. And I'm not saying that because I'm a fan of Star Trek necessarily. I'm saying that just from a point of disappointment, we've known about this show coming for like 18 months. Didn't know the name, just knew they were working on it. And now it's been further delayed to, while wholly reasonable reasons, it's a combination of factors that makes me think that CBS and Paramount, even though they knew this is the 50th anniversary of Star Trek, really didn't plan anything for the 50th anniversary of Star Trek.
Yeah. And they spent a lot of time basically saying, hey, it's the 50th anniversary of Star Trek. We're going to do something. What are we going to do? I have no idea, but we'll come up with something.
I know. They brought out actors to talk about it. They allowed all these art symposiums and exhibits to celebrate it. But that's apparently as far as their commitment to the project really got. And they could have released a series during Star Trek's 50th anniversary to kind of commemorate. This is the 5-decade point. We've hit the 50th year of our mission. But instead, they just kind of blew the timeline. That sucks.
Yeah.
Well, get this. Stan Lee has sold his life to Fox.
Okay. What? That's not good news.
Stan Lee has sold his life to Fox.
As in a documentary, or...?
No, they are making a fictionalized version of the life of Stan Lee for a movie in the style of James Bond, according to The Hollywood Reporter. They're making a fictionalized movie about the life of Stan Lee. It's going to be produced by the producers of the Power Rangers, Marty Bowen and Wick Godfrey, who also produced the Maze Runner and the Twilight films. Oh my God, my heart is falling. The story is going to be set in the 70s, and it is not a biopic, but a straight action-adventure film centered on Stan Lee as the hero.
Oh. Well, they did say, with James Bond, so, yeah.
Still, though, what the serious hell?
I don't know. You kind of lost me at Twilight, so...
Oh, my God. I don't know if any other Marvel creators are going to appear as characters in this film, nor do I think Marvel really wants any other creators to appear in this film. 20th Century Rights holds the full rights to this particular film, as well as a few other Marvel Comics properties co-created by Lee, like the X-Men and the Fantastic Four. There's been no writers
to bring up in that either.
Yeah. No writers, directors, or actors, or even release date have been attached for this untitled film as of yet. I just want to know, what will Stan Lee have a cameo as?
Not himself, apparently.
There have been certain episodes of Doctor Who that have been lost to time. One in particular, the story Power of the Daleks, is an episode that was played over and over from the original tapes it was held on, but it was never transferred digitally, and the tapes have degraded to such a point that this particular episode is just unreadable. You can hear the audio just fine, but the video is pretty much gone.
Wow.
Well, as of November 5th, the episode will be made available via BBC's digital store because they've recreated the footage as well as they can in animated format.
Really?
Yes. It's going to be released. There's several episodes, as a matter of fact. They're going to be re-released in animated formats to go with it. But Power of the Daleks is the most notable one. One episode will be released digitally per day for 6 days before being made available in digital retailers on November 14th, and then in DVD in the UK on November 21st. The BBC was nice enough to release a 40-second video on YouTube of what this will potentially look like. But these are classic episodes of Doctor Who. I'm sure this is pre-Tom Baker. Curious to see what this is going to look like?
Sure.
Yeah. It's got me intrigued.
All right. I sent the video. 50 years after its first transmission, Star Trek was born. Okay. It's Flash animation, that's for sure.
Yep.
A Lost Classic returns. Oh, there's a little bit of CG, too. Ooh.
Ooh.
The actual Dalek mutants, not just their tanks. The power of the Daleks. Wasn't much to that video, but it does whet the appetites. I'm not a fan of classic Doctor Who myself. However, as soon as I mention that to my wife, she will probably beat me over the head, steal my wallet, and buy the whole thing. So, I guess I know where my money will go. Last up in general media news. Fans of Mythbusters, I assume?
Yes.
Yep.
Well, the show is making a quasi-comeback. It's been off the air for a little while now.
Yeah.
And when I say quasi, because there is a new show, according to the Nerdist, and I believe it's coming to streaming services, called The White Rabbit Project. It's going to be on Netflix. The White Rabbit Project debuts December 6th, and it's going to star 3 members of the former Mythbusters build team, Grant Imahara, Tori Belleci, and Carrie Byron.
Okay.
All right.
So they're going to go down the rabbit hole of the internet to find topics and experiments to create.
Uh-huh.
Curious?
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I miss these guys when they were off the show. They had the most personality, I think, on the show.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, Jamie was never one for the personality, and Adam almost had too much. So between the two of them, they, kind of made a whole person, but...
Adam Savage was a little bit too much of a man-child at a lot of times of the show for me. The build team always seemed like they're just really enjoying the science and the weird little things that can happen because of it. Adam always... He always seemed like he was just one slip away from a tremendous megaton explosion. Next up is Marvel comic news. We will talk about the Marvel properties that are headed for the comic book pages very soon. First up, there's a new series that we already know was announced, Doctor Strange and the Sorcerers Supreme, where Doctor Strange and Sorcerers Supreme from different parts of the timeline are assembled to deal with some kind of unknown threat. The artist is promising a sense of wonder with this particular group.
Okay.
The artist is Javier Rodriguez. I believe Javier Rodriguez was recently working on Spider-Woman, if I'm not mistaken. He said, quote, "I'm a longtime Marvel fan, and I love Stephen Strange. My first gig for Marvel was as a colorist for Doctor Strange The Oath. Also, this is a new challenge for me because it's my first time dealing with a group of superheroes. I'm excited. Not forgetting that Robbie is one of the most brilliant new talents and a fantastic writer to collaborate with. He's awesome developing characters and creating story plots. I couldn't resist to jump on board when editor Nick Lowe invited me, despite that I was enjoying being on Spider-Woman with Dennis Hopeless," unquote. Oh my god, I was right!
Yep.
Yay! I'm not stupid! I'm still kind of on the fence about this, because as much as Doctor Strange is getting better in my opinion, I don't know about an entire team of Sorcerer Supreme,
Yeah, well, I don't know. We'll see how it works out, I guess.
All right. Well, it's funny you say how it works out, because Civil War 5 finally dropped last week.
Okay.
Or I should say Civil War 2, number 5. And this came in with the big hero versus hero battle we were kind of expecting early on in the series.
Mm-hmm.
Except it ended on a very, very sad and troubling note, because Ulysses accidentally projected another one of his visions. And this one created a serious problem, because the vision ended with Miles Morales in his Spider-Man costume holding up the lifeless and impaled body of Steve Rogers.
Whoa.
As well as a little bit of dripping gore on his free hand. So, at the end of the issue, Captain Marvel felt she had no choice and placed Miles Morales under arrest.
You don't even have a death. It's not like the man stabbed him. He's holding the body. How many times have you? I mean, in movies and everything else, it's like you walked in, you saw something completely out of context. That is such a horrible, horrible way to run things.
However, typically you do, when you walk in and see something horrible like that out of context, it is standard procedure to arrest them and hold them, not necessarily charge them.
Well, yeah, but what are you going to do? Wait for another vision from Ulysses to clear him?
Typically, I don't know. I haven't dealt with a lot of precogs in my time on Earth.
Oh,
Steve.
that's what I'm saying, though. That's why it's such a horrible, horrible system to try and enforce things that way, because you're taking things out of context, and you're saying, oh, I know exactly what's going to happen. No, you have a vision of...
You know, I sat and wondered about that, but at the same time, the first one of these visions she listened to, she did stop the world from being destroyed by Thanos.
Okay.
You know, these things do... She does have a proven track record of at least stopping horrible things from happening. It's just... I guess it's a case of finding out when exactly their interference in these potential visions creates tangible results. That's the part I don't know.
Right.
So, it's
what
a curiosity.
What was the vision about that actually had her stop? Because I don't actually think I read that part.
Stop Thanos?
Yeah, no, where she found out that she needed to stop Thanos. What was the vision? Was it so clear?
Yeah, it was... Well, she didn't see it, but Ulysses relayed that he had a vision where Thanos destroyed the Earth with a cosmic cube he found at a particular place. He took them to that place a few minutes before Thanos arrived. That's also the place where She-Hulk was critically injured and War Machine lost his life.
Okay, so it's his narration that provides...
It was previously his narration. Since that point, he, so far accidentally, has been able to project his visions upon others.
Okay.
They experience it just as he does.
So this vision is supposedly Miles Morales after he killed Captain America.
Yes.
Okay.
Not all news is good for Civil War II. We've read before about the delays for issue 5, and that had to do with a childbirth.
Yep.
Well, the ensuing 3 issues after 5 are now delayed themselves because of this initial delay. Issue 6 is now scheduled to come out October 26th, issue 7 on November 30th, and issue 8, the extended issue, will now come out December 28th. This is an 8-week delay for Civil War number 8, originally solicited November 2nd.
Wow.
So, it didn't work out so bad in Secret Wars because they managed to hide the ending of the series and what happened to certain characters even after the issues that told the story afterwards came out. Right. I don't know if they will have the same ability or the same kind of coincidental good luck when it comes to the end of Civil War because the new Marvel Now initiative comes out, if I remember correctly, late October. Yeah, so he'll be curious to see how all this lines up. But we have found out about 2 new series that will come out of the events of Civil War II.
Okay.
First up, there will be a new Hulk series.
Right. Yes, I heard about this.
Yeah, it got me curious because it's starring Jennifer Walters, but it's not a new She-Hulk series. She is being called The Hulk.
She's the only one left.
Yeah, and the image on the cover was very curious because it is the injured version I've seen recently of Jennifer Walters. Her skin was gray and she had a lot of jade scars all over her. That's what she looked like when she woke up from her injuries from the fight with Thanos when she took that missile to the chest. Turns out it was followed up by one of Thanos' energy blasts. So the missile took her down, but he put her down. I want to know if that's going to be her regular form throughout this series, or if this is part of her recovery process. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
The writer will be Mariko Tamaki, and the artist is going to be Nico Leon in the new Hulk series. According to writer Mariko Tamaki, quote, Jen is absolutely shaped by the trauma she's experienced. Much of it was inspired by thinking about how different people deal with the hard things that happen in their lives. How memory, trauma can infuse our whole being, be a physical presence in our lives. I was really into the idea of a Hulk, of the ability to transform into something close to monstrous, that's still human and heroic. It was interesting to think about what's human about Hulk, and vice versa, unquote. Well, she put a lot more thought into it than David Goyer did. The other new series that was announced is the new Hawkeye series, and just like the Hulk series, the person that holds the name of Hawkeye is not the one most people associate it with. Kate Bishop is getting her own solo series.
Ah.
The writer will be Kelly Thompson. The art's going to be the art's coming from both Leonardo Romero and Jordi Beyer. The story will involve Kate Bishop moving back to Venice Beach to work as a superhero and private eye in the wake of Clint Barton killing Bruce Banner. Almost makes me wish the new Hawkeye and Hulk series were linked somehow. According to Kelly Thompson, quote, "I don't think she's disillusioned so much as just emotionally a bit spent by it all, and feeling like she needs a clean break from things. Also feeling a bit like she needs to prove to everyone, perhaps most notably herself, that she can stand on her own. I think that Kate's got such a strong and singular voice, even when she's in a group, that once you tap into that voice as a writer, she just sort of bosses you around and tells you what she wants to do. Our series is definitely a spiritual successor to what Matt Fraction and Annie Wu began when they brought Kate to L.A. We're definitely doing our own thing, but they had absolutely laid the groundwork for where we wanted to take Kate. It was the next logical step," unquote. Thompson also described this new Hawkeye series as Veronica Mars with superheroes. I can't say that makes me want to read a comic book more or less, but I do like the character of Kate Bishop.
Yeah, I have no feelings about Veronica Mars. I never read those. So,
Veronica Mars was a TV show, dude.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm thinking of Nancy Drew. Never mind.
So, for those of you keeping score, the new details have been released about the tease series Monsters Unleashed. It is going to be a Marvel Superheroes versus All-Star lineup of classic Marvel monsters in the first crossover event post-Civil War. Scheduled to begin January. Oh god, it would be the first crossover event because it happens like right after Civil War II ends. It's going to be a 5-issue bi-weekly event kicking off with a surprise attack on the Marvel Universe by several monsters, including Fin Fang Foom, Groot, and Devil Dinosaur.
Why is Groot attacking?
He is an infamous Marvel monster. Groot started out, if I remember correctly, as a Hulk villain before everybody figured out what his thing was.
Oh, really?
I believe so. It's going to be written by Colin Bunn, with each issue drawn by a different artist. Steve McNiven, Francis Lennell Yu, Adam Covert, Salvador LaRocca, and Greg Land. According to Marvel editor Mark Panacea, he told Entertainment Weekly, quote, "Our goal is to cram as many mammoth monsters of Marvel into Monsters Unleashed," Jesus, good job on the alliteration, "as will fit on the page. If you've got a personal favorite, chances are very good you'll see them causing some mayhem in the series. And if you're worried we'll forget one, don't be afraid to tweet us at Marvel using the hashtag Monsters Unleashed," unquote. Wow. According to Marvel's editor-in-chief, Axel Alonso, quote, "If there was ever a monster who stood 10 stories high or taller and created mayhem in the Marvel Universe over the last several decades, they're going to be in the story," unquote. That's a lot.
Yep.
You want to see what the promo image looks like for Monsters Unleashed? Because it looks like what heroes are left after Civil War are going to have their hands unnaturally full. Because I see members of... Wow. I see members of the Inhumans. I see the Totally Awesome Hulk. I believe I see Ant-Man, Captain Marvel, Spider-Man, Sam Wilson, Miss Marvel, Medusa, Young Cyclops, Rocket Raccoon, and Wolverine surrounded by titanic beasts.
Is that Darkhawk?
I was kind of wondering that myself, because I see the lower half of the face, so I almost want to say it's Black Bolt, but you might be Darkhawk. I'm not entirely sure on that one. It'd be interesting if they chose to bring him back here. Wouldn't it be sad if that's Hawkeye's special squirrel suit? I'm never big into monster stories, but I gotta admit to a certain amount of curiosity about like every monster in the Marvel Universe going insane at once.
Yeah.
Writer Ta-Nehisi Coates, he's getting into the second volume of his run on Black Panther. Number 6 just came out on the 14th of this month. And he had some interesting quotes as to what his thoughts were on Black Panther and how he's trying to turn the Black Panther back into a superhero book. IO9 asked him, knowing that he's a fan of both Spider-Man and the X-Men, and they want to know what he thought when he first saw Black Panther appear on the pages of an Avengers story. He said, quote, "I really didn't have many. The period where I was most intensely reading is mid to late 80s. T'Challa is not in Fantastic Four. He's not in the Avengers. I looked at back issues and realized that he had been in the Avengers. I thought that was cool. I was interested in things like who he was and what happened. There's one issue of Fantastic Four I have, and it was in that period where the Thing had kind of mutated, where the Black Panther appears. But I don't even have strong memories of his appearance. Evan, you would know better than me, but my recollection is that he was not in Secret Wars. He's not in the big events. He's not in Under Siege. And he's not in Mutant Massacre. Was he around?" Unquote. That is kind of a good point, man. During the 80s, the Black Panther was almost a non-entity for a lot of comic books.
Yeah.
So, wow. And he's gotten mixed responses as far as his current run on the book from longtime fans of Black Panther. And they want to know what he thinks where that response comes from, other than the internet. Yeah. He said, quote, "If we're going to be straight and honest about it, I think it comes from a couple of places. First of all, I think there are very, very few African-American heroes, period. Certainly African heroes like T'Challa. That's just definitely true. You're not really going to see too many. I think in a lot of people's minds, T'Challa is a lot like Denzel Washington. He's supposed to be smooth and effortlessly do X, Y, and Z. In addition to that, I think before my run, there were several things that happened at Marvel. Like some bad things happened to Wakanda. First of all, you've got Priest. Priest's job is to get white folks to take T'Challa seriously. T'Challa ain't no chump. He established that pretty well. After that, Reggie comes in, and he says not only is T'Challa not a chump, but Wakanda ain't to be fucked with, period. Like, ever. Yeah. Don't even think about it. We've been wrecking fools since time immemorial. But between Hudlin and me, a lot of other things happened. I can't answer for other writers, but other writers made decisions. Between doing Avengers vs. X-Men and Time Runs Out, there's a lot of fucked up shit that happens to Wakanda, and then I come in as a writer. I understand the need, particularly among black fans, to see T'Challa be a certain type of way, even to see him restored to a certain place. This is like in my bones. I feel a deep responsibility to history. I can't act like stuff didn't happen. Well, I guess I could. Let me rephrase that. I could. What I could have done was said, okay, T'Challa used the time gem. He went back to X, Y, and Z. This kind of thing is always open to interpretation to some extent. But for me, it couldn't have been the time gem. Because if there was a time gem and he restored everything to perfection, why does the Squadron Supreme have to kill Namor? If the events leading up to Secret Wars actually happened. If you read other books, if you're paying attention in the Marvel Universe, it's clear that this shit actually happened. Okay, so that rules out time gem. Maybe it's a reality check. Maybe it was the reality gem. Maybe he changed as much as he could. He couldn't take every little thing, but if you can't pretend it didn't just happen, because it's clear that it did happen if you're reading the other books, unquote.
Yeah.
It's not as much of a... Wow, it's interesting to hear how writers can be trapped by continuity sometimes when they're trying to come up with new concepts for established characters.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying that as a fact of evil. I'm saying that just because he's talking about the people who are telling him, Wakanda has to be a certain way and the Panther has to be a certain way, but he has to point in other books and say, look, this, and this happened, so this can't be that way. I have to fit in the middle and figure out a way for half of this stuff to exist. If he pulled it off in any meaningful way, kudos to him, man. You got to deal with 70 years of continuity and have it all make sense.
Yeah, I'm glad he's actually putting thought into it.
Yep. Several other Marvel comics have been delayed recently. Spider-Man number 9, which I believe is the Miles Morales series, has been delayed from October 26th to November 16th. Captain Marvel number 10 moves from October 19th to November 23rd. United States of Murder Incorporated Annual has been pushed back to November 9th from May 13th, 2015. Brian Michael Bendis' original crime noir omnibus hardcover moves from September 14th to January 25th, 2017. Black Panther 7 is moving from October 12th to October 19th. Spider-Gwen 13 is moving from October 12th to October 19th. Silver Surfer 7, originally scheduled for August 10th, is now moved to October 26th. And Star Wars Poe Dameron number 8 is moved from November 2nd to November 9th. Half of that sounds like 1 or 2 week production issues. But the other half of that, like Spider-Man, Captain Marvel, that sounds like issues that probably had to deal with the fallout from Civil War that had to be moved back.
Yeah.
Because those are moves of almost a month, if not over a month, per book. There have also been some recent writer and artist shakeups when it comes to Marvel books. When it comes to the upcoming event that's supposed to explain what happened to Cyclops, Death of X. It was originally solicited as being written by Jeff Lemire. It's now being said to be co-written by Jeff Lemire and Charles Soule. Wow, okay. Miss Marvel is being joined by Mikra Adolfa for issue 13, replacing the originally solicited writer Takeshi Miyazawa, who has drawn... it's the artist Takeshi Miyazawa, who's drawn the bulk of the series so far. And Deadpool 21 is now being done by two artists, with Bruno de Sousa Oliveira joining the originally solicited Matteo Lally. Moon Knight number 8 is being expanded to have more artists. Greg Smallwood and James Takoe have been added to the list of artists on the issue, joining Francesco Francavilla and Wilfredo Torres. And last up, Amazing Spider-Man artist R.B. Silva is taking over November's Uncanny X-Men number 16, replacing Kim Jacinto. No reason was given for all these changes. Jesse, you're going to have to be on the lookout for something.
What?
The deadline to place an order is October 31st for a special cover by a top-secret artist that's being released direct to retailers. In the November debut of the new Venom series, there is a special 1/1000 variant that's being released.
Of?
Venom. I said Venom.
Yeah.
They haven't said what the image is. They haven't said what artist is doing it. But it is a 1/1000 variant. For every 1,000 issues retailers order, they get one copy of a variant. That is rare.
That's collector's worthy, whether it's good or the comic issue is good or not.
The issue of Venom number 1, where this special retail incentive cover is coming, is November 23rd, Venom number 1. Dude, that is... wow. 1/1000, man. That I haven't seen that in a while. And I have no word as to what this cover is supposed to look like. The story had two different pictures associated with it, but I don't see that... I don't see what this is, and even in the mailer they send out to the retailers, they will not say who this top-secret artist is. All I can say is keep your eyes out. There will probably be some news between now and November 23rd as to what to look for. According to the new writers of the Solo series, Gary Duggan and Jeffrey Thorne, it's going to be drawn by Paco Diaz. Solo apparently thinks of himself as Marvel's greatest clandestine operative. Kind of amazing, considering he hasn't made a major mark in the company for as long as I've been reading. Newsarama spoke with Duggan and Thorne, and Jeffrey Thorne basically said that the, quote, James is basically a small business owner. Killing terrorists makes his conscience feel better, but it doesn't pay the bills. To do that, he takes jobs as a mercenary. Often those jobs are dangerous. Sometimes they are dangerous and embarrassing. These are those stories.
Yeah.
According to Jerry Duggan, quote, his mission was vengeance, but now it's to get paid. And also, when he can squeeze it in, vengeance, unquote. So vengeance twice. Wow. Newsarama asked that, they said that Solo had recently been part of Deadpool and the Mercs for Money, so they want to know what led to him spinning out into his own ongoing. According to Thorne, quote, if I had to guess, I'd go with Jerry having compromising photos of senior editorial having something to do with it, but that's just how my mind works, unquote. Okay. Sounds like the writers are just having as much fun as possible when they're making this. That makes me more curious to read it. I'm not a Solo person, but if it's going to be a fun superhero romp, dude, I'm usually more interested than you think. Did you guys read the latest issue of The Mighty Thor?
No.
People have been freaking out about it. In the prior issue, Thor was injured. She was shot with a bullet in the hand. You know, she purposefully caught the bullet, but it was laced with the blood of a former Marvel villain called Midas. So she was yes, her skin was being changed to gold.
Huh.
And two FBI agents cornered her while she was in pain and being transmuted. and said that they knew that Jane Foster has become the mighty Thor. And before she can deny it, the Rainbow Bridge opened. And through it stepped Jane Foster with a medical bag.
Okay.
Thor and Jane Foster were in the same damn place. So even I, after reading the series, was going, what the serious fuck?
Loki decided to give a sister a hand?
Okay, well, after Jane got rid of the infection, and after the villains had all run away, there was one agent, Agent Solomon, who Thor had developed a bit of a friendship with, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And she's standing there with Thor and Jane Foster saying, okay, I'm really sorry, I thought I had this nailed. Suddenly, Jane Foster started to change shape, and that shape ended up being Mjolnir.
What?
Not only that, Thor changed shape herself into Jane Foster. Foster decided to reveal her secret identity to Agent Solomon because she trusts her. So, to back up, Thor can change shape, but before you freak out, the hammer had actually exhibited molecular control back in the 70s of Thor comic books. Journey into Mystery number 115, Mjolnir was shown to be able to manipulate matter at a molecular level if it was spun hard enough. So, it's not outside the possibility of this hammer being able to change shape.
Did
Now,
Foster actually talk?
Yes. Talked and told Thor to just concentrate on what she needs to do to remove the bullet. In other words, this Jane Foster construct of Mjolnir was using the mental link that Thor has with the hammer to use her medical knowledge to rescue her.
Huh.
Now, some people have freaked out just saying this shouldn't be able to happen. As I just said, it's happened before. Mjolnir has molecular control, but as some people have pointed out, you know that Mjolnir picks people to be the wielder of the hammer based on their worthiness, so
Right.
It's not outside the realm of possibility that there is
That
some
it
kind
is
of
sentient.
intelligence within the hammer to be able to pick who can pick it up. So,
Well, that's the first thing that I thought when I heard, it transformed into Mjolnir. I was just like, okay, so they're finally revealing the intelligence behind.
yeah, I didn't read the full issue, but I did flip through it because I read the last issue where Jane Foster shows up, and even when Foster is digging the tools out of her bag that were forged in Asgard so they can operate on an Asgardian, even Thor in her womanly form looked up and said, how did you... Never mind. Just concentrate on what I need to do, and I'll do it. So even Thor was thrown back for a minute going, seriously, what the fuck? Interesting twist, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
And last up in Marvel comic news, Newsarama via writers George Marston and Chris Arendt, they put together a list I thought I had to share with you guys of the top 10 must-read Doctor Strange stories.
Okay.
All right.
Because I figure if Doctor Strange is going to become more prominent, we might need to dig into his history a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yep.
So, I'm going to read the titles of these stories. If you want me to slow down and explain it, I need you to let me know. Okay?
Okay.
First story they mention here, as in number 10 in the list of the top 10 must-read Doctor Strange, Master of Stonehenge. Okay. The title of this storyline is Season 1.
Oh, that gives us no context.
So I take it you need me to tell you more.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think you're probably going to have to do that for all of these, unless you
Exactly.
actually read them, because...
Okay? Quote, of all the early Marvel superheroes, Doctor Strange has probably had his origin retold in print the least, leaving plenty of room for a modern version of the story on the shelves. Doctor Strange Season 1 is arguably one of the best of Marvel's short-lived Season 1 introductory original graphic novels. Is just such a retelling. Written by Greg Pak with art by Emma Rios, Doctor Strange Season 1 sets up Strange's backstory and relationships in a way that has undoubtedly influenced, or at least echoed, the film version of the story which hits theaters this November. Doctor Strange Season 1 recounts Strange's life as a gifted surgeon whose hands are mangled in an accident. Unable to continue his work, he seeks out a cure, instead finding a new path as a master sorcerer. The story includes the core cast of Baron Mordo, Wong, the Ancient One, and Dormammu, connecting them all to a core narrative and setting up a strong basis for Strange's subsequent adventures. Plus, you get to look at 136 pages of Emma Rios' artwork, unquote.
I think we need to read this at some point.
Sounds like it. And to put it in context, if I remember correctly, Greg Pak wrote Planet Hulk. If that gives you any idea as to how he works.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like this season 1 is the equivalent to DC's year 1.
Pretty much. Item number 9 on this list. The storyline is called Sorcerer Supreme Once More. As I say these things, I'm realizing how much I drag out my S's. Do you want me to read this one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Quote, "It's hard to find modern stories that really capture something unique about Doctor Strange. For most of the last decade, he's primarily been a supporting character for the Marvel Universe. Still, in the latter half of Brian Bendis' long Avengers run, Strange became a key player in New Avengers. In the early issues of New Avengers Volume 2, which followed the end of Dark Reign, Strange finds himself part of an unlikely Avengers team closer in makeup to the Defenders and stripped of his title as Sorcerer Supreme. With his classic role given over to Dr. Voodoo, Strange must find a new path in the Marvel Universe. Bendis' story explored the themes of Strange's arrogance and humility, his willingness to sacrifice for his power. It also established new connections between Iron Fist's power of Kunlun and the Ancient One. Of course, it all wrapped up with Strange regaining his mantle as Sorcerer Supreme, leaving him arguably stronger than ever before, thrusting him into some really deep cosmic weirdness as part of Marvel's Illuminati," unquote.
Ooh, yeah.
So this will be the second volume of New Avengers after Captain America and Iron Man left. This would have been the Luke Cage-led team, I believe. Item number...
that just makes me think about the new Luke Cage and Iron Fist.
Okay. Item number 8 on this list, Defenders Indefensible. That sounds complicated.
Yeah.
Quote, "Though modern audiences likely associate Doctor Strange with the Avengers, a pairing that will likely carry over to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Strange's first team was the Defenders. Founded alongside Namor, the Hulk, and the Silver Surfer, the famous Non-Team dealt with mystic threats that took a decidedly stranger tone than Marvel's other team books. Though we could likely build a list of the best Defender stories all on its own, we're including Defenders Indefensible, the miniseries that reunited the original 4 Defenders with writer J.M. DeMatteis, who in turn reunited with his fellow Justice League International co-creators Keith Geffen and Kevin Maguire. Indefensible brought the trio's slick, irreverent sensibilities to the Defenders, injecting their trademark humor into a story that pitted the foursome against classic Strange foes such as Dormammu and Nightmare," unquote. Okay, that automatically made a list of storylines I have to look up. Dude, the writers of Justice League International working on the Defenders? That sounds incredible. Item number 4 on this list, To Steal the Sorcerer's Soul.
Huh.
Wow, it's one issue.
So one shot, okay.
Quote, "Can a story not even a full issue in length be considered among the greats? If it's good enough, why not?" 1982's Marvel Fanfare number 5 had a succinct 17-page tale by the novel team of Chris Claremont, Marshall Rogers, and P. Craig Russell. Strange's romance with the otherworldly Clea is in full bloom here, with Claremont channeling his iconic X-Men soap operatics with great effect. The pairing underscores the action of the story as Dormammu and Strange battle once again. Although short in length, page for page, this is one of Doctor Strange's most potent tales, and definitely worth tracking down for students of Doctor Strange fandom, as well as would-be masters," unquote. That's a hell of an endorsement. 17 pages, and they count it as one of his best storylines of all time.
Damn.
Okay, number 5 on this list of Newsarama's top 10 must-read Doctor Strange stories sounds like classic Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange versus Dracula, the Montesi Formula.
Okay.
Quote, "Doctor Strange flitters between genres and groupings in the Marvel Comics universe, often serving as an odd but welcome face in the Avengers mythos, as well as Marvel's horror line. The best example of that is the Sorcerer Supreme's tussles with the publisher's rendition of Dracula and his fellow vampires. Doctor Strange vs. Dracula, the Montesi Formula, collects both a crossover between Doctor Strange and Tomb of Dracula, as well as a 5-issue arc of Strange's solo title that ended in the death, albeit temporarily, of vampires in the Marvel Universe a la No More Mutants. Among the creators involved, Roger Sterling and Gene Colan are at their best here, and the final story drawn by the then up-and-coming Steve Laioa caps it off expertly, unquote. So he annihilated vampires across the Marvel Universe.
No more sparkles.
No more fan fiction.
Oh, that will never die.
I'm kind of astonished here. Item number 4 on this list of top 10 must-read Doctor Strange stories. The Way of the Weird.
Oh, okay.
Really?
Yeah, what we just got through, 5 weeks ago?
Yeah.
Quote, the supernatural side is sometimes... Well, do I even need to read this?
No, we read this already.
We went through this
awesome.
in detail already. Wow, I just went on autopilot there.
Next!
Item number 3, A Separate Reality. It's a name we're familiar with, at least. Quote, writer Steve Englehart was already familiar with Doctor Strange from his work on The Defenders, but when he took over Strange's solo adventures, he moved away from the superheroic style that he wrote on the team book, delving deep into myth and magic. Marvel Premiere number 4 through 14, collected alongside Englehart's Doctor Strange 1 through 5 as a separate reality, follows Strange and his supporting cast as they become trapped in Strange's Eye of Agamotto, battle Lovecraftian horrors such as the cosmic monster Shumagorath, and foiling a time travel plot by Baron Mordo. Oh, that sounds like a full week. A Separate Reality collects Englehart's entire run alongside artist Frank Brunner and marks the moment when Doctor Strange moved from mystical superheroics to outright fantasy and even horror, unquote. That sounds like a Steve read. Item number 3 on this list, Triumph and Torment, which sounds like American politics. Quote, some of Doctor Strange's best stories are the ones that pair him with unlikely allies, and no story is more emblematic of that than Triumph and Torment, a Marvel graphic novel from the creative team of writer Roger Stern and Mike Mignola, the creator of Hellboy.
Oh.
In the story, Doctor Doom makes a deal with Doctor Strange to venture into Hell and retrieve the soul of Doom's mother from the demonic Mephisto.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, Doom, being the ruthless, power-hungry master of science and magic that he is, seems to double-cross Strange. But the story's twist ending shows that the difference between heroes and villains is often as simple as execution, especially when dealing with magic. In addition to featuring some of Stern's best work on Strange and classic artwork by the legendary Mike Mignola, Triumph and Torment laid the groundwork for the unlikely and tenuous friendship between Doom and Strange, which was a critical part of the recent Secret Wars, unquote.
Wow.
Holy crap, that ties together!
I want to read this.
Item number 2 on the list of the top 10 must-read Doctor Strange stories, Strange Tales. Wow, you just knew a title like that was coming somewhere.
Yeah.
Quote, Stan Lee and Steve Ditko didn't just create Doctor Strange. They defined the elements that still make up the core of his mythology, from his origins to his powers to his allies and enemies. Lee's and Ditko's run on Strange Tales took Marvel Comics to trippy new heights, combining Lee's flair for dramatic dialogue with Ditko's inventive and mystical environments. Strange Tales number 110 through 141 contains numerous gems from the introduction of Strange's greatest foe in the domain of the Dread Dormammu to the first telling of his origin as a brilliant but arrogant surgeon and culminating in the Eternity Saga, the story that introduced Ditko's personification of reality, the titular Eternity. The duo's entire run was collected in Marvel Masterworks' Doctor Strange Volume 1, unquote. So, after all that, knowing nothing about Doctor Strange, I'm not going to have you guess what his supposed number 1 as far as the top 10 must-read Doctor Strange stories. And again, this is according to Newsarama.com by writers George Marston and Chris Arendt. The number 1 story is called The Oath. Quote, if there is one story that truly defines Doctor Strange, not just as a character, but as a hero, it's Brian K. Vaughan and Marcos Martin's Doctor Strange The Oath, a tale about friendship, heroism, and the greater good. The Oath tells the story of Doctor Strange suffering from a gunshot wound trying to track down the person who shot him, while also seeking a cure for his companion Wong's terminal cancer. In the course of discovering his assailant, Strange finds more than he bargained for and winds up being forced to choose curing Wong and saving the entire world. Vaughn's modern take on Doctor Strange, coupled with Martin's contemporary yet iconic artwork, codified Strange for the current Marvel Universe in a way that no title since has yet to live up to, unquote. There's a lot of interesting ideas here. I'm not going to say I would read all of these, but there's a couple I could cherry pick that might be up my alley.
Mm-hmm.
Hey guys, what do you think is the hardest part about collecting comics?
Money?
You cheap mother. Steve, what do you think is the hardest part about collecting comics?
I don't know, just figuring out which ones to get.
It's true. Finding key issues is rough. But I think the hardest part of collecting comics is getting signatures. You got to find out where creators are going to appear. You got to get the plane tickets. You got to get a hotel room, buy a badge, feed yourself, and then wait for hours on end and hope that the person you're there to see doesn't decide they've had enough and they really want a sandwich at this moment.
Yeah. Or they're off to another panel.
That's happened to me a couple of times. I think I've annoyed Brian Michael Bendis enough. He might actually know who I am. But that's why I go to Celestial Comics for signatures. Celestial Comics, they've made inroads in the industry, and they can get you a signature for only a few dollars above the price of the signature. And the best part is they'll do all the legwork and the hard work while I get to keep my fat ass at home.
Yeah, that's pretty damn convenient.
Yeah,
and
my ass is pretty
lazy.
fat. Thank you. I needed that. That's going to work great for my confidence. Celestial Comics is organized enough that they can even send it directly to grading if you want it to be. You'll find events that they're going to appear at their website or get instructions on how to send them your comics at celestial-comics.com. You can go there today and take your collection to a whole nother level. That's celestial-comics.com. Now we have DC Comic News, the major competitors of Marvel and their upcoming comic storylines and comic changes. First up, the writer of Detective Comics, James Tynion IV. Apparently, DC likes the cut of his jib, and in the vein of what they've been doing recently, they signed him to an exclusive contract. He said, quote, DC is home to my favorite characters in the comics industry, and now I'm getting the chance to write a lot of those characters twice a month in Detective Comics, the comic book that gives our great company its name. Being part of the DC family has been a dream, and I'm happy to make it official. We're already working on amazing stories coming in the next few years, and I can't wait to get a chance to write them, unquote. James Tynion IV, if you want to know what he's done for DC thus far in addition to the current run of Detective Comics, he worked on Batman's Night of the Owl storyline, Batman Eternal, Talon, Batman and Robin Eternal, and the DC and IDW crossover. He wrote Batman and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Okay.
Hey, laugh if you want. That was actually critically praised.
Really?
From beginning to end. Yes, people are loving that book.
Seems like he has a lot of involvement with the Court of Owls stuff as well.
It wouldn't surprise me to find out he might be the creator of the Court. You know, the Court of Owls is a pretty recent development in DC Comics comparatively.
Right.
Yeah.
Superman writer Gene Luen. He's the writer on the new Superman, the Chinese Superman.
Okay.
He just recently received a hell of an award. He got the MacArthur Genius Grant.
Oh.
The MacArthur Fellows for 2016 were revealed as of this past Wednesday night. Poet Claudia Rankine and computer scientist Subhash Kott were named along with Yang, so he's in rare company.
Yeah.
The MacArthur Grants are given to talented individuals who have shown extraordinary originality and dedication in their creative pursuits. Yang is also an educator who was appointed the National Ambassador for Young People's Literature in 2015. He's worked on graphic novels like Boxers and Saints, which puts him in the company of Alison Bedshell, Ben Catchor, and Tenenshi Coates as comic creators who have been named MacArthur Fellows. Holy crap, I'm not reading New Superman, but just finding out what this guy has done, I'm impressed.
Yeah.
Now, recently, while we were on our break, the first storyline in Detective Comics, the one where the colony has been haranguing Batman and the team he put together to defend against them,
Right.
that has come to an end. And a character has died from it.
Tim Drake?
Robin?
Yes. Tim Drake has been removed from Detective Comics, but not in the format you think. Now, to let you in on what happened, the colony developed a drone system to kill people that the colony determined were going to be a problem. Not threats to the colony, but people who were potential villains. It was predictive police work at its worst, okay?
Okay.
And they developed hundreds of drones. Well, Tim Drake hacked into the system, and he couldn't shut down the drones, but he could change their targets. He changed their targets to a singular target.
Himself?
Yes. He got himself back to the Belfry, which was his gift to Gotham. The Belfry is a regenerating headquarters that the Detective Comics crew was working out of. And he ran himself back there as fast as he could, and the drones all opened fire at once, annihilating both him and themselves. Except Tim Drake was removed from time.
What?
Huh?
The character that's been harassing Superman and telling him he's not what he thinks he is, Mr. Oz, has removed and captured Tim Drake.
That kind of defeats the sacrifice he did there.
If you saw the panels, you would know how frickin' deflating it is to know how that changed. Because I got this story from two different sources, both Newsarama and IO9. I have not read the comics myself because you know me. I like to read whole story arcs at this point.
Right.
I am going to send you the image of when these drones opened fire and the last page that Tim Drake spent in the DC Universe proper before Mr. Oz took him out. I have not seen a better death scene in the last decade. Look at this image. Because that is both fire and fury, and an image that gives you a real tactile sensation as to what kind of hellstorm these drones were raining down upon him.
Uh-huh.
It was impressive as hell. And then to go a couple pages later and find out that Mr. Oz has grabbed him felt like bullshit. And I don't swear very often, but that frickin' hurt, you know, as these people are mourning Tim Drake as he died, as Batman is mourning Tim Drake a few pages later to see this image. And that was just deflating.
Yeah.
And this is not the first character that Mr. Oz has captured. You remember my theory that Mr. Oz is Ozymandias assembling people to deal with Dr. Manhattan and the threat he poses to DC?
Uh-huh.
He also has Doomsday.
Oh.
Shit. Whoa!
And potentially, he might have the new 52 Superman and Superwoman, Lois Lane. The two of them died in very unusual ways. That energy flash and turning to ash. They might have been replaced.
Mm-hmm.
But the only ones that we know that he has so far are Tim Drake, who he says can channel a lot of his mentor when he wants to, and he has Doomsday. So he has a brain and he has muscle. If you guys have any other reactions beyond this, I'd like to hear it, because as curious as I am to read this run, I'm just disappointed in the ending.
You didn't need to show me the images to tell me that, you know, they undid a heroic death of saving everyone by removing from time. That's complete and utter crap.
Well, I don't know if he was removed from time entirely. Obviously, Ozymandias' base has to be somewhere far removed from everything that goes on generally in DC. He might just be on another part of the planet. But you cannot tell me that he wouldn't have had to do some kind of massive monkeying with universal physics to take Tim Drake out of that barrage and place him, you know, beaten, but no holes in him at all in a cell.
Yeah, I mean, there was freaking ribs showing through his uniform in that first picture.
Yeah. He
had holes through him.
The point I'm getting at is he completely undid this awesome thing he did in a story sense. This completely...
Yeah.
What was the point?
I can't say that they undid it, because...
They soured it.
Yeah, that would be a little bit more accurate. I mean, it's not due to anything, you know, that Tim Drake did. You know, he was perfectly willing to sacrifice himself and thought he did so.
Yeah. I really hope if this is going to happen like this, that this is already part of a well-established plan. Because this could have been I mean, Robins have died before. That is not a secret.
No.
More than one has died. But the way he could have gone out in this issue, if they had left it as a death for at least a couple years, it's not just a good comic book death. It's one of those almost perfect hero deaths where he gave up everything just so that innocent people would not even know that they were under threat.
Right.
So to have it just kind of undone in the same issue, not even like a couple books later, but to have it undone in the same issue,
that's what makes me think there is a plan.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a plan, but you know, unless it's a good plan, this is a waste. Yeah, unless it's a good plan, it's a waste of a really good moment. So as much as I give him credit for having an idea as to what to do, I looked at that and just said, tell me that at least 2 issues later and you haven't taken away the sting of this. But to tell me that a few pages later, you've completely removed the sting of this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, oh god, it hurt. DC has actually changed the title of another upcoming series. There was a 6-issue miniseries that was called Hawkman and Adam Strange Out of Time. Not the most notable pairing in DC Comics, the titular spaceman, Adam Strange, and Hawkman, who's been around since, the 50s, right?
Yeah.
Well, the title has been changed from Hawkman and Adam Strange Out of Time to Death of Hawkman.
Oh.
Gee, I wonder what's going to happen in this book.
A little on the nose there.
Yeah, man, Hawkman has died so many times in DC Comics. Is that really what you want to call this? But it makes me wonder, is he really, at this point, is he going to die, or is Mr. Oz yanking another character that he can use?
Maybe.
I don't know.
I couldn't even guess at this point. According to the solicit, quote, after a career of galaxy-spanning adventures, Adam Strange finds himself trying to live a normal life when he's pulled back into interplanetary calamity and chaos once again. When a seemingly normal Zeta beam transmission returns him to the planet Ran, he finds the capital city of Ranagar in ruins, and his once peaceful beloved Alana crying out for the blood of Ran's oldest enemy, Thanagar. Okay, so we're going back to Hawkman being part of an alien race, then. The evil Desperados brainwash Rand citizens into thinking that Thanagar is responsible for the attack. As Rand gears up to counterattack, the Hawkmen get word of the impending attack and plan a preemptive strike of their own, unquote. God, so is the Hawkman that's dying even the Hawkman? So many questions. Do we care, though? Okay, well, another character may have died in DC Comics. I guess it's more likely in this format. The Suicide Squad lost a member.
Okay.
Who?
And this one had no surprise ending where he was shown a few pages later perfectly okay. Digger Harkness died.
Really?
Yes, Captain Boomerang is gone, supposedly. Apparently what was happening was recently General Zod has gotten out of a Phantom Zone projection. Task Force X unknowingly opened a Phantom Zone projector and General Zod came out.
Oh.
Apparently as Digger
already.
Yeah, apparently as Digger Harkness was messing with the projector, a portal opened and almost immediately a heat blast came out of it, leaving only his boots.
Huh.
Wow.
Zod doesn't play.
No.
Yeah, DC themselves are apparently highlighting his death, saying that, according to their own website, quote, Boomerang is down and his murderer is freed, unquote. So, it sounds pretty definitive. However, remember that the last time we got together, we talked about the new Justice League vs. Suicide Squad Rebirth crossover event.
Mm-hmm.
In the number 1, this was in the solicit, quote, longtime enemies such as Batman and Deadshot, The Flash and Boomerang, and Wonder Woman and Harley Quinn will have to put aside their differences when an evil threat once thought lost to the DC Universe makes their return, unquote. Was that long-lost threat General Zod? And if so, what the serious hell?
Well, this is the opening scene of that thing, so he didn't even make it to the actual book.
Let's just hope that this is not the General Zod that was drowned in mineral water and Lex Luthor blood, okay? Let's hope this is an actual General Zod. Last up in DC comic news, a DC character I think often gets overlooked is getting a new spotlight. Get ready for the release this year of a 4-issue series called Supergirl Being Super. It's being done by one of the new exclusive DC artists, Joelle Jones. And she said, quote, I was approached by DC a while ago, and it was a project that I was interested in, according to the writer of the series, Mariko Tamaki. She said, quote, of all the DC characters, Supergirl was always the one who stood out to me. I was really excited when they approached me. I come from a very John Hughes place because I'm very old and that's my starting point for starting to talk about adolescence. There's something about taking a weekend in someone's life and just focusing on what happens in that time. Although, obviously, if you're writing about superheroes, just about 10 times more things can happen than you would if you were a regular kid living in Toronto, Canada. Unquote. I have to respect that.
Yeah.
And the artwork that's been released so far of Supergirl being super, it is right in my wheelhouse as a comic book fan. Joelle Jones looks like the type of person I need to hang out with for a little bit. Take a look at one of these pages from the series.
Ooh, wow.
This is supposedly a retelling of Supergirl's origin and a little bit of a story of her growing up and becoming the woman she wants to be.
Mm.
You want the official synopsis?
Shoot, yeah.
Quote, imagine this. You're an alien. You have superpowers. You are Supergirl. But you're also 16, a teenager just trying to survive the day-to-day life of high school. The upside is, yes, you can fly. You can crush diamonds with your bare hands. The downside is that being super can be a super complicated and super confusing thing to be, especially when the whole being super thing is a secret. This is the story of Kara Danvers, known to her home planet of Krypton as Kara Zor-El. On one hand, Kara is a typical teen, navigating relationships, friendships, and classes. On the other, she's a being with the immense power and potential, with the added responsibility of managing her developing superpowers, as if transitioning into adulthood wasn't hard enough. As Kara turned 16, her powers began manifesting in bizarre hot flashes, growing zits, symptoms that are just becoming harder to control. That's right, 2 words. Alien zits. This series is more than just heroics. It's the action-packed and heartfelt story of Kara Danvers and her attempts to balance the roles of teenager and hero. This is a fresh take on Supergirl full of passion and ingenuity with some added teenage irony. The first issue of the series will debut December 28th, with subsequent issues being released every other month. Each issue is super packed with 48 pages of story in prestige format.
Wow.
Supergirl Being Supered is scheduled to debut December 28th. Unquote.
I'm really curious about this one.
I gotta say I'm in on this, man. This sounds like the kind of down-home and relatable story that DC often tends to overlook when they're telling their huge narrative.
And I gotta say, the art helps.
It does help. You want to see one more image that Newsarama used as a promo?
Sure.
Yeah.
Because if this is indicative of the whole series, man, this is right in my comfort zone as a comics reader.
Okay.
The image of her holding up a tractor by an axle with one hand while trying to text. and looking superbly calm.
Yeah, just like, okay, whatever.
You see, lizards, we can be positive with a DC title.
Wow. You just reached out to the millions of people that hate us, and there's not enough people that like us to defend us, man. Now it is time for general comic and convention news. We will talk about comic books that are not Marvel and DC related, as well as news about conventions all around the world. And, dude, it has come... being off for 3 weeks means there's a lot of news I have to skip. So I tried to keep as much as possible of stories that I thought would be just interesting in general. And I gotta harken back to a convention that happened just when we were starting our break, and that's Dragon Con.
Uh-huh.
If you recall, we talked about the Dragon Con Awards, their first award show. They were handing out awards in several different places, or several different genres. Do you want to know what won their respective genres?
Sure.
Okay. Best science fiction novel, the winner was Some Witherer, A Tale of the Unwithering Realm by John C. Wright. I do not know this at all. Best fantasy novel, Son of the Black Sword by Larry Correa. Best young adult Best young adult middle grade novel, The Shepherd's Crown by Terry Pratchett. Man, Terry Pratchett's a name I've heard a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Best military science fiction or fantasy novel, Hell's Foundation's Quiver.
Oh, yes.
By David Weber.
Yep.
Best alternative history novel, League of Dragons by Naomi Novik. Best apocalyptic novel, Control Alt Revolt by Nick Cole. Best horror novel, Soul Dancer by Brian Niemeyer. Niemeyer? I'm going to go with Niemeyer. Best science fiction or fantasy TV series, Game of Thrones. I was hoping for The Expanse. I really was.
Out of
I like.
two. But
Well,
that's
I mean,
that's the Mentors show compared to the.
Well, let me put it this way: the bracket for best science fiction and reality TV series was packed with things I enjoy. There's only one series here I'm not an active fan of: Daredevil, Doctor Who, The Expanse, The Flash, Game of Thrones, Jessica Jones, and Outlander.
Wow,
that's a rough pick, man. Best science fiction or fantasy movie: The Martian by Ridley Scott. I've seen that. That is actually a very entertaining film.
I need to see that.
It's a man versus environment story. Obviously, it's one guy stranded on Mars, but it is not the kind of dour and depressing type thing because it shows both how he tried to survive and how much NASA, or this fictional NASA, worked to try to rescue him. It is very much a hopeful story. Best science fiction or fantasy PC console game: Fallout 4 by Bethesda.
Okay.
Really?
Best science fiction or fantasy mobile game: Fallout Shelter by Bethesda. Connected to Fallout, obviously.
Obviously.
Best science fiction or fantasy board game: Pandemic Legacy by Z-Man Games.
Nice.
Pandemic Legacy, okay. Best science fiction or fantasy miniatures, collectible card, or role-playing game: Call of Cthulhu role-playing game 7th edition by Chaosium Incorporated. And the two brackets that are the most relevant to our show. Best graphic novel: the winner is The Sandman Overture by Neil Gaiman and J.H. Williams III. A recent Sandman story. Best comic book: believe it or not, the winner from Marvel Comics is Miss Marvel.
Nice.
It's well deserved.
Well, that was another bracket that was packed with tough competition. The bracket was Astro City, Saga, Civil War II, Daredevil, DC Universe Rebirth, Miss Marvel, and Providence.
Yeah, that is a lot.
Yeah, it was tough. Man, as much as I wish I was going to New York Comic Con, because New York Comic Con is going to have debut footage from the Legion TV show and the Iron Fist Network show, as well as an all-new episode pre-screening there from Season 4 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. featuring the Ghost Rider. Dude, they're having a lot of great entertainment debuts out there. That sounds awesome, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, New York Comic Con also has a new weapons policy. Foam and cardboard only, and you have to take your mask off when you come in. Last year's New York Comic Con's prop policy, quote, prop weapons will be...
really got some people upset.
Well, if you remember, last year, before we even knew about it, we saw cans full of props. Like, they were just taking people's props and tossing them. Not checking them, just getting rid of the damn things.
Yeah.
Last year's policy was, quote, prop weapons will be allowed providing they are comprised of foam or cardboard only. Prop firearms are only allowed if they cannot be mistaken for real weapons. The barrel of all prop firearms must be covered with brightly colored caps. Prop bows will be allowed if providing all arrows have soft tips, unquote. The current year policy, quote, prop weapons and prop firearms will be allowed providing they are comprised of foam or cardboard only. The barrel of all prop firearms must be covered with brightly colored caps. Prop bows will be allowed if providing all arrows have soft tips or made of foam or cardboard, unquote. So that means even your airsoft or your prior fake weapons like repainted Nerf guns, not allowed.
Yeah.
They have to be foam or cardboard. And you can bet there's a lot of people who don't listen to the show and don't read websites who are going to show up and lose their stuff all over again.
Yep.
New York Comic Con has also entirely banned both drones and selfie sticks. That's not entirely new because San Diego Comic Con would not allow that anywhere near the fracking building. You know?
Yeah, I'm just thinking about the reasoning behind some of this. I can understand the drones because they can be a hazard if they fall out of the air. As for selfie sticks, they are a potential weapon.
It's not the weapon, though. The problem is people who are using selfie sticks half the time are walking and talking as they take video.
And they're not paying attention.
Yeah, when you're in a crowded space, you don't want people wandering into other people. Some good news for DC Comics when it comes to sales. Because of DC's Rebirth, for the second month in a row, they massively topped the sales numbers.
Massively?
Yeah, if you recall, DC was generally down by about 15 points when it came to retail sales.
Right.
Over the last 2 months, they've been up by 10% over Marvel.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Not only that, Harley Quinn #1 sold 400,000 copies. And according to Newsarama, because of the massive success of DC's Rebirth, comic sales have been at numbers they have not seen since 1996.
Wow, 20 years.
Yes. To give you an example, as far as August 2016, 9.3 million copies of comic books have been sold. Versus a year ago, that's a bump of 43%. Ooh. 5 years ago, that's a bump of 51%.
Damn.
As of 10 years ago, one of the major periods of comic books, that was a bump of just 27%, but still a bump. And as of 15 years ago, that's 57% above August of 15 years ago.
Jeez.
Year to date, 64.7 million copies of comic books have been sold. For the year to date. As of August 2016, the sales have monetarily, for the top 300 comics in dollar sales, $34.16 million. That is 37% above just a year ago.
Wow.
Although, comic books cost a lot more than they did at that period. So,
True.
Grain of salt. However, you cannot argue with the actual numbers of comics sold. You know, this has been a big year for comic books. That's good news for this genre, although I will say that probably movies have helped a lot of those sales.
Yes, definitely.
You know, both the good ones and the bad ones seem to provide serious bumps for the comic books they're based on. Now, there is a new Star Trek comic coming from IDW. It's an anthology series called Star Trek Waypoint.
Mm-hmm.
When does this debut? I do not have a date, unfortunately. Oh, sorry. Star Trek Waypoint #1 hit shelves September 28th. Preview pages have already been released of the first story. A starship encounters a futuristic ship, some ship that seems to have come backwards in time. The captain of this ship is one Captain Geordi LaForge.
What?
And the helmsman of the ship is Data. The first officer is Data. The security officer is Data. The engineering officer is Data. Apparently, I got this from reading the exposition in the first few pages that were released on IO9. Data has uploaded his mind, his neural net, to the main computer of the starship, and he is the bridge crew. He projects holograms of himself in the various positions of the bridge crew. There is a regular staff on this ship, but most of the upper officers are Lieutenant Commander Data. Or at this point, I guess it's just Commander Data.
And Geordi is what, captain?
Yes.
Yes. Not only that, this futuristic ship they're staring at, it is a perfect cube, a beige cube.
So it's some kind of like Borg ripoff?
Actually, no, because it's transmitting one thing over and over. The Prime Directive. It's a Federation ship.
Right.
Huh.
They made it in...
Well, no, according to Data scans, the whole thing is being manned by an advanced AI.
Him?
No, it's actually locked itself. It's beaming the Prime Directive over and over. According to the pages, the theory is that this ship realized it came backwards in time somehow, but to keep from interfering in the time stream, it's locked itself. It's not letting anyone in and out, but the AIs are starting to fail interior.
Right.
So Geordi's left with a conundrum of, do they break their own Prime Directive to save this ship of accidental future travelers?
Oh, okay.
Tough, isn't it?
Well, I was under the impression that you were saying that the ship that came forward from the future was being piloted by this Data Geordi.
No.
Yeah.
The current timeline is Geordi, is Geordi in his ship that has Data in the computer, and they found a ship from the future that apparently is just broadcasting the Prime Directive over and over again. In other words, this ship is saying, we have a problem, we cannot interfere, please don't come on board. It's a rough conundrum.
Yes, you know someone's going to be on there.
Yeah. There is a new anthology series that's coming out from IDW Publishing as well called Love is Love. The title is being done in partnership with DC Comics, which almost surprises me, because this comic is being done to benefit survivors of the Pulse nightclub shooting in Orlando. You know, DC Comics has a pretty sketchy history when it comes to LBGT characters and rights and the ideas of, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
But according to the release via Equality Florida, quote, "When tragedy happens, art responds. And after the Pulse massacre, the comics community responded quickly, decisively, and with open hearts. I could not be more proud of this book or to be a member of the comics community. The talent and emotion on every page is staggering. Love is Love mourns the 49 lost, honors the survivors, and celebrates love in all forms," unquote. This is scheduled to include work by Phil Jimenez, Steve Sadowski, Paul Jenkins, Mike Carey, Matt Wagner, Marguerite Bennett, Aniki, Damon Lindelof, Patton Oswalt, Stephen Orlando, Raphael Albuquerque, Jason Aaron, Jason Latour, James Asmus, Ming Doyle, James Tynion IV, Cecil Castellucci, Brandon Peterson, Jesus Saiz, Oliver Copiel, Lionel Yu, Elsa Chartier, and more yet to be announced. The publishers will be reprinting several things under this Love is Love variant cover banner, including Image's Southern Bastards with a new story by Jason Aaron and Jason Latour. Love is Love is going to be an anthology book of 144 pages. It's due out in December. So if you have an interest in kind of a secondhand supporting of the people who have survived the Pulse massacre, as well as the families of some of the victims, you need to go out and pick up a copy of Love is Love. Some of the variant covers DC's even gotten involved with, allowing Hippolyta and Batwoman on separate covers or pinups to hold up either rainbow flags or American flags double-sided with rainbow flags. As I've said, DC doesn't have the greatest history with LBGT characters, so this is a big commitment from them.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to give them props for at least trying, you know? Wow, I almost wish I paired this with the last story, because there's another Star Trek series that's currently going on from IDW called Star Trek Boldly Go. It involves the Kelvin storyline. Or the Kelvin timeline, sorry. Which is, in other words, the Chris Pine universe of Star Trek films.
Right.
Well, as of issue 3, they're going to encounter something that they didn't encounter at this point in the regular series. As of issue 3, the Kelvin timeline characters get to meet the Borg.
Oh.
It's the crew of the Enterprise alongside the crew of the USS Endeavour who encounter the Borg for the first time. That's a big curiosity to me. I'd like to see how these current cowboys of Starfleet deal with something like the Borg.
Badly, I would assume.
Yeah.
Well, the first shot, is not going to be a good one.
Nope.
Valiant Comics is coming out with a special, I guess you could say an almost Elseworld style event. They're calling it the Stalinverse. They've recreated the Valiant universe as if Soviet Russia basically came to a point of prominence in world politics. It's kicking off in December, featuring a core event series and several spin-off one-shots called Divinity 3 Stalinverse. One of the one-shots is called Divinity 3 Commander Bloodshot. That's it's not exactly a new idea. You could point to Superman Red Sun, when he supposedly, an Elseworld story where he came down in Soviet Russia instead of Kansas, and how that affected the world. But it is definitely a different flavor, because this is happening in a separate universe where it's not one alien's coming down that affected the world. The entire world, it came up Soviet in this universe, and this is how their characters have developed under such strain. So this will happen in December of this year. And Marvel Comics has announced, and I put this here because it's not necessarily a central Marvel comic, but as you remember, we talked about Kieran Gillen. He was talking about his new Marvel project that he wouldn't quite disclose. That's because the new ongoing he was talking about is a new ongoing Star Wars book.
Ooh. Huh.
He is the writer of Star Wars Classified.
Interesting.
The solicitation, as it appears in the Marvel's preview catalog, is listing 2 issues to go on sale in December. No one has revealed what the premise of Star Wars Classified is, or even its final title. It's just a placeholder to be revealed a little later this year.
I was thinking they were going to do some kind of spy thing for Star Wars, and no, the title's just Classified. Okay.
Yep. There is a list of different variant covers that are coming out for issues 1 and 2, but at the bottom of this list, all it says is, quote, an all-new, top-secret, ongoing Star Wars series begins this December, ... unquote. God, way to make people just kill their comics retailers, guys. I love the fact that Gillen himself said on Tumblr, quote, unannounced Marvel thing, 2 issues written, inks arriving for the first issue, which are an utter delight. I think people will love it. It's an ongoing, unquote. Unannounced Marvel thing. That sounds wrong. Alan Moore has announced he's retiring from comic books. The creator of Watchmen is about done with comic books. He did a press conference for his book, a 1 million-page novel called Jerusalem, saying he has about 250 pages of comics left before he calls it quits. Quote, I think I've done enough for comics. I've done all I can. I think if I were to continue working comics, inevitably the ideas would suffer. Inevitably, you'd start to see me retread old ground, and I think both you and I probably deserve something better than that. There are a couple of issues of an Avatar press book that I'm doing at the moment, part of the H.P. Lovecraft work that I've been working on recently. Me and artist Kevin O'Neill will be finishing Cinema Purgatorio, and we've got about one more book, a final book of League of Extraordinary Gentlemen to complete. After that, although I may do the odd little comics piece at some point in the future, I'm pretty much done with comics, unquote. So the creator of Watchmen is calling it a comics career, at least. I believe he still plans on writing novels. I'm sure at some point it still sticks in his craw a bit, the whole thing about the Watchmen and the rights.
Yeah, just a bit. Just slightly.
You know, I'm sure he's occasionally, denouncing the company to his serpent god. He does believe in a serpent god. He's been very adamant about that.
I see.
Last up in general comics news, Canada is getting its own comic book universe. Chapter House Comics is creating its own central universe of Canadian superheroes. Chapter House has already been doing pretty well with the revival of a Canadian superhero called Captain Canuck. I'm not joking about that.
Okay.
He is set to do a crossover with another character called the Pitiful Human Lizard. And Phantoma, the public domain superheroine and first credited female comic book character with superpowers, is going to be added to this series. There's also going to be a spin-off called Agents of Pact about an all-woman super team featuring Redcoat and Quebec. They're also bringing back the classic Canadian superhero Freelance, who emerged on the scene after a World War II ban on non-essential American goods, which included comic books at the time. So Chapter House is creating a Canadian central universe of superheroes. I would almost say it's long overdue, man. Canada has a pretty rich culture.
Yeah, I mean, they've been around for a while.
Well, they definitely deserve more than Alpha Flight, for frick's sake.
Although I kind of like the current Alpha Flight.
I do like the current Alpha Flight, but
it has nothing to do with Canada, though.
I know, that's probably the problem. Maybe that's why you like it so much.
No.
I'm not saying you hate Canadians, it's just not exactly mired in Canada, you know?
Yeah.
So, it is what it is.
Party people, this is the Master of Games, Master Mario from the Cosplay Wrestling Federation. Word is Jeremy, Steve, and Jesse from the Rolling 20s will be all over Great American Comic-Con hosting panels with John Romita Jr., Joe Rubenstein, Bob Layton, and a whole lot of other special guests. Come see a great show December 3rd and 4th at the Cashman Center in Las Vegas. Great American Comic-Con. Where are you gonna be?
Is one of our favorites, our WTF Corner. That's where we talk about the stories across the internet that just, it really makes you doubt that we have any hope of surviving the November elections. Seriously. First up, we have video game videos.
Okay.
Ooh.
Incredible plays, unbelievable falls, and bugs that really make you second guess your PlayStation Network account. First up, what game is this? I'm actually not entirely sure what game this came from. This is definitely a zombie survival game of some sort. It might be Dead Island 2. But it had an interesting twist to it because it came with a piece of music. This came from the channel of Bartram Productions. All one word. Bartram, B-A-R-T-R-U-M Productions. He titled this video, Fireball! No Hadoukens were involved in the making of this video. I sent the video. So there's somebody hitting a flaming zombie with a hatchet, right?
Yep.
Now look at it flip out on the ground. The physics have gone crazy, and now it is flinging fire like a god of Mario World.
It's kind of funny, actually.
It's throwing fire like freaking 15 yards.
Wow.
Reminds me of those firecrackers you see on the 4th of July.
It's still going, too.
I know, and it's coming their way.
That's a little freaky.
That's one of those things where as soon as you say that, it's just, okay, control, delete, give up on this one, we're coming back to this checkpoint. One game that has kind of dominated video game videos over the last few weeks we've been out is the beta for Battlefield 1. The Battlefield game that had throwback weaponry back to like World War I. There's a lot of stuff, and I understand it's in beta right now. I don't believe it's in commercial release. So obviously there's going to be a few things that are kind of messy in the game's physics, right?
Mm-hmm.
Happened a lot. First video we have from Battlefield 1 is from the channel of user Denon as on Sniper. DENONASONSNIPR. Because there's no way you'll find that on your own. He titles this video simply, "Yep, that's Battlefield." I sent the video. Okay, so he's got a long rifle there.
Yep.
Definitely a sniper rifle. Look, biplane. Takes a shot. Damn it. Takes a shot. Yeah. Oddly enough, this video only took one shot to finish. But it's not the shot you're thinking of, because what's coming down from that plane?
Oh no.
Yep. Dropped a bomb on him.
God. Dude, I swear. Dude, oh my God.
Look, you took your shot, he figured out where you were. If you weren't going to take it, he will.
Yep.
Although it's rare.
Better.
It is rare for someone to waste their one-shot bomb on one single guy, but obviously he just looked at him and said, okay, you're going to shoot at me? I'm going to screw you up. Do you want to see what it looks like when somebody fights a vehicle and wins?
Okay.
This one is from the channel of user Slayborg. One word, Slayborg. It's like Cyborg, but ultra cyberpunk. He just titled this video, Battlefield 1 Open Beta. So obviously to him, it's no big frackin' deal. But to us, it's entertainment. And I sent the video.
We have lost
So he's got a heavy machine gun there.
That's a stern.
Yeah. Okay, look. Truck, one shot, and kill the truck.
Wow.
And he survived.
With a portable cannon.
He shot it in the undercarriage as he was getting run over.
Yep. He would not go down without a fight. Literally. Car was halfway over his skull, he fired a shot, and survived.
35 hit points.
I gotta give you kudos, because that's taking it like a man. Got one more Battlefield 1 video. This one came from the channel of user Attack on Kyle.
Okay.
If you insist, that sounds like either a fan of Attack on Titan or somebody that really hates South Park.
Why not both?
True. He titled his video, though, Battlefield 1, Heaven or Hell.
Oh, okay.
So that means there could be some guilty gear in here for all we know. I sent the video. So you're manning a heavy machine gun.
Nope.
Nope.
Down to a long rifle.
Okay. Yeah. Look at that horse.
Nope.
Horse is calm.
Horse or Jeep? Horse or Jeep?
There's an enemy on the other side of that wall. He jumped behind the Jeep. Man, good hide. Here's a grenade. I think I got him.
Oh.
But is he going towards heaven or hell? Because he slowly rises into the sky and shoots into the ground.
Wow.
And I love how whoever played this was just kind of standing there going, seriously, what the fuck just happened, man?
Yeah, I think they haven't fully instituted the ragdoll effects yet.
Yeah.
Well, it's still in beta, but he could also be Jewish. He might not even have a hell to go to. So, have you guys been keeping track of this new game called For Honor?
No.
For Honor. I've heard of it.
It appears to be a MOBA-style game where people are released into arenas to combat each other with medieval-style armor and weaponry.
Yes, I have. Heard about this and seen some.
Yeah, I've heard of it. I just have not been keeping up with it.
I believe it's currently in the alpha phase. I don't believe it's in full beta yet. And people have been playing it, and it's getting some really decent buzz. There were a few videos that were released while we were off. There was one in particular I had to share with you guys. This came from the channel of user LynxMK, Lynx space MK. And they titled the video, Double Ladder Slide Kill.
Buried elite.
That sounds so metal. Double ladder slide kill. Run! I sent the video. Okay. So here you are as a player in the middle of some NPCs, at least, just kind of hacking them down. Anything with a life bar is another player, and you see, he just backstabbed that poor fool.
Some dude's running around with a katana.
Yeah, there's a number of different weapons you can carry.
Yeah, you go like European medieval, Japanese, and I think Viking.
But look at this. They've come across two opposite players that have pretty high life bars, and he just lost his health, and he is near dead. So I was like, screw it. Dodge roll. I'm getting out of here. Look, up the tower. There's a ladder. Okay, I'm going to run up here, get away, and they're right behind me. Okay, I'm on top of the ladder. I drink a potion and slide the ladder, and death fall.
Oh, wow.
Oh! All right.
You know,
that's
and then he died.
Mechanics right there. But.
Yeah, if I had to die after doing all that, I don't think I'd feel near as bad about it.
Well, he may or may not have died. He got hit in the back, but he wasn't quite...
It did after that say revive in 12 seconds.
Ah.
So he did die from that. But, you know, it seems pretty much inescapable. If you're going to have a section of any sort of show that has to do with video game videos, Overwatch is going to play a part at some point.
Oh, yes.
This came from the channel of user Zinnic, Z-I-N-I-C. He titled his video, and it sounds pretty appropriate, "Well, that was unexpected."
That could be anything.
I know, that's the fun. They're going to open the box and see what's inside, because I sent the video. So there you are playing as Roadhog.
Roadhog? Ooh.
Just killed somebody, but you got a Reinhardt up there who's in pretty good defensive posture. He just thrust, knocked you down, you hooked him, and you...
Oh my gosh, he survived.
You forced the Reinhardt to fall to his death.
Castle map?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah,
because I imagine even the guy that was playing that Roadhog has said, "I'm not going alone," and I guess you are. Bye. And the last video I have in our WTF corner as far as video game videos, it's a Destiny video.
Destiny?
Okay.
Destiny is starting to rise to prominence because the last expansion called Rise of Iron, it's out, and it's getting some unusually good praise from across video game press.
Really?
Yes. This video came from the channel of user The Phobidor. T-H-E space P-H-O-B-E-T-O-R. I don't know if this video has to do with Rise of Iron, but as soon as I saw it, I had to include it because it was weird. It looks like one of the new abilities you have is you can actually suspend opposite players in PvP with some kind of suspension field. And what this guy did in the midst of it was downright cruel. I sent the video.
Okay.
So there's a player, you got him in a sniper's rifle, shoot him in the head, not killed him, grenade in the skull!
Oh. Oh.
And it wasn't even the detonation that killed him, it was beating him in the skull with a grenade that killed him.
He survived a sniper rifle headshot.
Yeah, I mean, at least the player had the presence of mind to kill him when that sniper shot didn't work. But at the same time, to be on the other end of that, to be the guy in the suspension shield who just took a headshot and said, "Ha-ha, I made it, what are you throwing at me?"
I'm not sure that's Mercy King or, the ultimate teabag.
Either way, it's not something I would want to go through.
Yeah.
Don't worry, guys, we're almost to it, but you know how it is. When we're off for a while, there's just sometimes a number of things to go through.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Further on in WTF Corner, a lot of comic book retailers were charged for something that they shouldn't get charged for.
Okay.
They were charged for Free Comic Book Day.
What?
See, Diamond Comics is a central retailer that ships out all comic books. They have they have pretty much a monopoly when it comes to shipping comic books from just about every retailer, independent or major. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
So Diamond Comics sent out delayed invoices to retailers in regards to shipping charges for Free Comic Book Day titles. Diamond refused to disclose the exact number of retailers affected by this, and they now call it a billing error. Newsarama did confirm that the affected retailers serviced by all three of its North American distribution centers did receive some bills for the shipping of free comic books. According to Michael According to Michael Mosio, Diamond's advertising partnerships marketing director, quote, Diamond made a billing error, neglected to charge certain retailers for freight charges for FCBD books. We're working with retailers to remedy the situation and have taken steps to ensure this won't happen in the future, unquote. You know what? It's called Free Comic Book Day for a reason.
I think someone got fired.
No. I mean, unless the people were forced to pay, then it's really not.
Well, it is kind of a legitimate thing, though, because even though the free comics, specific comics, are given away for Free Comic Book Day, which is generally the first Saturday in May, retailers do pay between 20 cents and 60 cents per issue that they're buying, as well as shipping and handling charges. Apparently, they've just never been charged for shipping and handling until now. And you got to admit that if you regularly in invoices, you generally have up to about 3 months to pay. 6 months after the fact is a little late.
Yeah.
You know, by then you're already working on your next quarter of financials, and this could be a big blow to them. Somebody just needs to keep up with it better at Diamond. You know, somebody at Diamond just sent it out way too late, and it's kind of unfortunate.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, due to the fact that it's being sent so late, they should be able to work out some kind of a payment plan or, you know...
Or forgive the charges in general.
Well, I don't know if they'd go that far.
I didn't say they would, but it is an option.
Yeah.
You guys know that EVO is moving into Japan, right?
EVO?
What?
The video game fighting tournament series? It's opening. It opened its first regionals in Japan. So Japan is now an official entrant in the worldwide video game fighting tournament scene.
Huh.
Okay.
They held their 25th Umebra tournament in Tokyo this past September 10th, and I gotta say, the prizes for EVO in Japan, kind of underwhelming. Kamemushi is the name of the player who swept the tournament as far as Super Smash Brothers.
Uh-huh.
And the prize he got for top marks in Super Smash in EVO is a pair of headphones and a 66-pound bag of rice.
What?
He played as part of 25 matches for some of the best Smash players in the world, and he can now listen to music while boiling himself a day's worth of rice. I mean, I know that the EVO tournament, you know, sometimes the payout is not really on stature with the kind of awards you win, and this is a regional, but still, you would think he would get better than a 66-pound bag of rice, my man. And this is a trend in esports. Kamemushi won from the entire pot of Smash 4 at EVO 2016, $5,000. He didn't place first during that tournament, but he got about $5,000. Ally, who did take first place, took just under $16,000.
That's a pretty big difference.
Yeah. Jason Zimmerman, who's known as Mewtwo King, he's considered the highest grossing Smash player of all time. You know what he's taken in over the length of his career? $147,216. He's never taken away more than $5,000 from any one event. Considering the exposure that they get from streaming services, not counting the recent TV exposure, you would really think there'd be a little more money taken to the players.
Yeah.
I mean, it's up to your opinion, but seriously, $5,000 for top honors at certain tournaments really sounds meager.
Yeah.
I mean,
thinking
about all the
people are okay with that because they continue to play, but
or it could just be the best option they have for what talents they have.
Right.
You know, that may not be that they're happy with it; just may be all they get.
Right.
I almost think about some of the logistics that goes into setting up all these tournaments and how much money is spent in it, and I'm guessing whatever's left over becomes the prize pool. I don't know.
That would also be pretty sad, considering that the money spent in their setups often seem to rival some mid-grade concerts.
It's a lot of hardware they have to put in, so...
It's some hardware they have to put in. Realistically, though, outside of reasonable chairs and video game devices, the rest of it is just window dressing.
Yeah, I'd say, honestly, renting the space would be more costly.
It still just seems really bad, considering that the central thing happening is the video game play, and that's the thing that seems to pay the least.
Yeah.
There is a popular YouTuber named Jinbop. His name is Starlet Zhao. He was arrested last month.
Oh, I heard about this, I think.
He's... Well, let me put it to you this way. He's a YouTuber who has over 400,000 subscribers. He's a video game YouTuber and streamer. And he was arrested for engaging in sexually predatory behavior towards a 15-year-old female fan of his channel.
Yep. 15? I thought it was 14.
15.
Oh, still.
It was 15 at the time that he flew out to see her from Seattle to, I want to say, Michigan to meet her for sex. Their Skype conversations started when she was 14. The parents of this young girl that he was Skyping with noticed her odd behavior towards him, contacted the FBI, who tapped his Skype channel, during which one of the calls, he actually convinced this underage girl to stand up and show off her privates. And even made mention of what he would do to that 15-year-old puss. I'm sorry, at that time...
places are reserved for guys like this.
Yeah. The girl's parents also obtained an audio recording in which Zhao can be heard asking her to strip her clothes off, and then Zhao gives advice on her grooming of her genital area. During the conversation, Zhao acknowledged that the girl is 14, so he is in full knowledge of this. So, obviously the man is scum.
Yeah.
I don't believe it bears repeating, but I believe at the time of his arrest, Zhao was 24.
Wow.
Yeah, she's 15 and he's 9 years older, so he would be a 24-year-old who was perving on teenagers. And the guy is, by my estimation, ugly. Imagine a middleweight Asian guy who tries to dress and got his hair styled like Justin Bieber when he was like 16.
I can't imagine that, surprisingly.
You want to see what it looks like?
No.
I have to show you what it looks like just because, and I say this because I'm a father of a girl who is just passing into her teenage years, so I'm getting, I don't want to say overly concerned with stuff like this, it's just stuff I'm more aware of. The picture is not just disgusting, it's sad.
Wow.
So I'm going to guess this is a guy without a YouTube channel that could never get laid.
I think his life is completely screwed right now.
Well, yeah, he's...
Of course his life is completely screwed. He looks like that, and now he's in federal prison. His life is literally screwed.
His life is... Yeah.
Yeah, there's going to be some large people, and federal prisons ain't nothing to mess with. There's going to be some large people that pull his life out his ass and screw his life in front of his face, okay? Want to move on to something a little more uplifting but depressing?
A little more uplifting would be nice. Can we skip the depressing?
Not entirely. Do you guys remember Chase Holfelder?
No.
You ought to. Chase Holfelder is the master of the minor key. He is the man who took Kiss the Girl from The Little Mermaid and turned it into the relationship dirge.
Oh, God.
When I was done researching that, I was listening to it, but it turned out he had an entire channel full of this stuff.
Yeah.
And I picked out a few to play on future shows just for the sake of entertainment, but one stuck out in particular this week. He took a song from a notable musical and put it in a minor key. I haven't listened to it yet, but I have only a feeling about how this would go. Imagine taking a song full of hope that really kind of transcended generations and is known to this day to people who don't even like musicals, and turn it into a minor key song. Imagine the depressing world of Over the Rainbow from The Wizard of Oz.
Oh, boy.
Over the Rainbow in a minor key might sound like some kind of anti-LGBTQ tune by the time he's done, but I am so damn curious. I sent the video.
I can almost imagine it being like some kind of bad emo trip.
Yeah, this is going to be something really weird. I sent the video. Oh, dear God. All of a sudden, a song that initially talked about a girl and her hopes and dreams of moving to another happier place, this sounds like somebody on the other side of the wall of death just wishing they could get back to the land of the living.
Yeah. Sounds like a song who's pretty much lost all hope.
This is the story of that YouTuber who's now in federal prison. Oh, wow. I wouldn't think a simple shifting key could create such a different song.
Well, he really slowed down the tempo, too.
Yeah.
It almost sounds like a ballad.
Yeah, it does sound like a ballad.
Someone needs to take this song and actually put some kind of animation to it.
Well, it sounds like whoever died has moved on from the initial shock of death and is starting to get into the anger phase of their therapy.
It sounds like something you hear a spirit sing,
or somebody just waking up from
a molestation or something.
Yeah, somebody just waking up from a Cosby Quaalude.
This feels like something that could have come out in the 90s. At the height of this stuff.
I'm looking at the image of him singing with that just
drummer.
The soft cap on his head. You know, that hipster knit cap.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the image that I would expect to go with this song. I'm looking for Trent Reznor and his bad mascara or something.
Wow.
Okay, I want to hear him sing We've Got the Power from the Transformers soundtrack.
Maybe we can make a request.
Touch.
Dude.
He is having so much fun inversing all of these songs.
Yeah, and I've got more of those for later episodes when it feels like it's a good time for it.
Okay.
I got one more story in WTF. It's a little bit of a lengthy one, and I want to know if you guys want to hear it. Because you remember about 5-6 weeks ago, ScreenRant.com had a list of the 15 most WTF moments in Batman comics.
Yeah.
We read about some really weird events, like Robin getting locked in a safe with Batgirl, and Batman and Black Canary having sex as people burned to death.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Well, apparently Screen Rant decided they need to give equal time to something else, because Mark Zambrano put together a list of the 15 most WTF moments in Superman comics.
Oh, dear.
Okay. I think I might know a few already.
Well, item number 15 on this list is Superman gets an unsuper makeover. It's when Superman turned into an energy being in 1998.
Oh, yes.
You know, do you want me to read it, or do you care?
Yeah, go ahead. I honestly remember that, and I remember how short it lasted.
Yeah.
So.
Quote, in 1998, DC decided that after 60 years of being the most successful comic book character in history, Superman needed a change. So they resurrected a goofy one-off imaginary story that split the Man of Steel into two separate beings and gave it the 90s touch. Because when was that ever a bad idea? In the original story, a red and blue Superman together restore Krypton, solve all the world's problems, and figure out how to satisfy two women at once by divvying up Lana Lang and Lois Lane. The updated version of that, on the other hand, begins with Supes gets deprived of all of his solar energy and inexplicably develops the powers of lightning, requiring him to adopt a blue and white containment suit in a Krypton-shattering change that writers promised was forever. Turns out forever is exactly 1 year. After Electric Blue gets split into ultra-nerdy Superman Blue and hot-headed Superman Red, they spend months arguing over who's the true Man of Steel and go on a litany of pointless exploits and have a creepy love triangle involving Lois. The whole thing was scrapped. Changing an iconic costume is one thing, but completely altering everything that established the character as the world's most popular superhero is something else entirely. The eventual ensuing backlash from fans sent DC Creative scrambling to return Superman back to normal. Ultimately, the whole ordeal brought an end to Soup's awkward phase following his death and capstoned comics in the 90s, which were exemplified by gimmicky deaths, covers, and costume changes. Oh yeah, and one other thing, unquote.
Okay.
I'm assuming that's leading up to the next one.
Yep. Item number 14, the mullet.
Oh. Right.
You remember when Superman had short hair on top and long hair in the back?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you really want me to delve into that, or should I go on?
Move on.
I think
okay.
that kind of explains it.
Okay, it does have a Patrick Swayze reference in it, but okay. Item number 13, Superman gains the ability to shoot mini Supermen out of his hands.
What? Okay, that one I'm unfamiliar with.
I assume you... Why does it sound like he's just ejecting sperm out of his fingertips? Quote, Superman has some pretty awesome powers, but over 7 decades of tinkering, he's also had his fair share of ridiculous ones, like shapeshifting, super mathematics, and the power to throw cellophane-S shields. One of his most bizarre, and that's saying a lot, abilities dates way back to the 50s when he could literally shoot a tiny version of himself out of his hands. Superman number 125 starts with a Man of Steel getting blown up by a mysterious midget spaceship and having nearly all of his conventional powers replaced with the greatest power of all, shooting rainbows from his hands. Somehow, though, this inexplicably allows him to create a tiny proxy version of himself possessing all of his powers. But it doesn't take long for Superman to get super jealous. So when a kryptonite meteor shower heads for Metropolis, he decides to kill Super Imp. The whole thing backfires when some crooks get their hands on the fallen kryptonite and catapult it at Superman. Luckily, Mini Soup sacrifices himself by riding the rock into the sea. You would think that Superman would feel like a huge jerk after all that, but nope. Once Mini Soups is dead, full-size Soups gets all of his powers back and feels pretty good about it, unquote.
Next.
Drugs are bad. Okay, drugs are bad, okay? Okay, you asked for next? Fine. Gay kryptonite.
Wait, what?
Item number 12 is gay kryptonite.
All the colors of the rainbow?
No, this was an actual in-canon story. Quote, ever heard of pink kryptonite? Yep, that's a thing. It has the ability to turn any Kryptonian that crosses its path into an expert on male neckwear and interior design. Just kidding. It turns Superman super gay. It's incredibly rare and offensive, having only ever been mentioned once in a single comic panel. If you've heard of it, it's probably on account of the controversy it swirled up when the issue was first released in 2003. But then again, what changed to Superman isn't news these days. A lot happens in Supergirl number 79. Current Supergirl Linda Danvers goes back in time to the Silver Age, long story, and ends up in an alternative Earth 1 storyline where she eventually marries Superman and has a super baby. In between a deluge of gratuitous upskirt close-ups and convoluted plot points involving the original Supergirl, the comic actually does a pretty good job of satirizing the era, even giving nod to the Legion of Super Pets and Superman's giant key. Not as dirty as it sounds. That's when pink kryptonite makes its debut. Sadly, the whole scene comes off as more of being in bad taste than a good-natured spoof, but for those who have been patiently waiting for that Superman Jimmy Olsen romance to bloom, step right up, unquote.
Oh, dear God. It sounds like bad slash fiction.
Dude, it even has a panel from the issue above it that just says, with Superman telling Jimmy Olsen, quote, "Did I ever tell you how smashing you look in bow ties, Jimmy? By the way, that's a fabulous window treatment you've put together," unquote.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if they actually wrote in the list, but I had to add it when I had that. Item number 11 of the most WTF moments in Superman comics. Superman gets spanked by his daddy. No, it has nothing to do with pink kryptonite, I swear to God. Quote, "World's finest comics are notorious for their campy hokum, which is to say, they're wonderful. They are perhaps best known for their string of crazy covers, especially in their early days, but often the content inside was just as insane, and it appears, if nothing else, these comics gave writers an outlet to do the things they've always wanted guilt-free, like having Batman slap Robin, or see Superman get spanked. In issue 2001, In issue 201, the evil magician Felix Faust pits Superman and Hal Jordan against one another in a contest to determine who shall protect the Earth. In order to win, they're told they must face their greatest fears. For the Green Lantern, this means a huge yellow snake. Wow. Freudian. For Superman, this means having his father grow to gigantic proportions and abuse him. It's reasonable that the Man of Steel's greatest fear is not living up to his Kryptonian father's expectations. But it's weird he feels the need to be punished like a baby, and then wail as if he actually is one. Superman eventually stops the beating by triumphantly proclaiming, "I refuse to be slapped around by my imagination." But somehow, that doesn't seem like a victory, unquote. So far, this list is much more insane than the Batman moments.
Yeah.
Item number 10 is going to seem like a callback to one of the worst Batman moments. Superman and Wonder Woman murder thousands by having sex.
I'm assuming this happened in the New 52 era of comics?
It did not.
Oh,
I take it
boy.
this needs an explanation then.
Yes, please.
The first phrase will tell you half of what you need to know. Quote, after the success of his critically acclaimed Dark Knight Returns, Frank Miller followed it up 15 years later with The Dark Knight Strikes Again. Unable to live up to its Phantom Menace levels of hype, most fans felt the second go-around was a bit of a letdown. An aimless story that looked as if it were colored by a 4-year-old, many felt it mocked everything that made the original great. Suffice it to say, this comic had its fair share of what-the-fuck moments. Perhaps the worst came when Superman and Wonder Woman almost started a world war by having sex. After suffering a brutal beatdown at the hands of Batman, Superman is feeling pretty useless. Wonder Woman flies in and knocks some sense into him, exclaiming, "Where's the man who stole my Amazon heart?" Wow, that is Twilight levels of dialogue. Mm-hmm. Naturally, they then have sex. As the Goddess of Truth and the Man of Steel soar into the stratosphere, literally, in a tangled mess of cape, the world begins to shake. The Richter scale hits 7.8. A Hawaiian volcano erupts, and a hurricane hits the west coast, presumably killing thousands. What's more, unaware this epic mega bang taking place overhead, everyone down below thinks it's a nuclear attack and panic erupts. Meanwhile, Supes and a very satisfied Wonder Woman, goodness, Mr. Kent, you could populate a planet, finish off in the ocean deep as a shark watches. Immediately afterwards, Wonder Woman reveals she's already pregnant and starving, so they go out for some euros. There's a reason why this is one of the worst Batman stories of all time, unquote.
Wow.
Makes that Fairchild sex scene near the end of Gen 13 sound pretty tame.
Yeah.
The next one is a story that most people who watch the news in the last 10 years will be pretty cognizant of. Item number 9, Superman renounces his U.S. citizenship.
Oh, yes.
Kind of. He kind of renounced it. You know the details of that story?
No.
Do you care about the details of that story?
I just remember he was like, I am no longer fighting for American ideals because they no longer represent truth, justice, and the American way. So he dumped the American way, basically.
Okay. Well, let's find out, because I've always heard the synopses. I've never heard the details on this.
Yeah.
Quote, chalk this up to moments that weren't really as effed up as everyone made them out to be. But at the time, thanks to the media's overblown reporting and the internet being the internet, it seemed like a pretty big deal. When Superman declared that he was going to renounce his U.S. citizenship in 2011's Action Comics number 900, everyone went bonkers, as if apple pie decided to become Russia's favorite dessert, or Babe Ruth's birth certificate revealed he was actually Japanese. We previously touched on a few important factors that Fox News and MSNBC left out of their breaking news coverage. Mainly, the incident was a 9-page backup story written by a non-comic writer named David Goyer, screenwriter of Batman v Superman, that was an afterthought to the issue's main story and was never referenced again. The basic gist is this. Superman appears at a peace protest in Tehran. His actions are confused as representing the U.S. The president's national security advisor gets pissed, and Soup says he's going to renounce his citizenship, though we never actually see him go through with it, to show his solidarity with the entire world. Makes sense for an immigrant born from another planet. Ultimately, though, the story falls flat and only proves shoehorning real-world events into comics is never a good idea. Of course, seeing Superman proclaim the American way is not good enough anymore is slightly jarring, particularly for a U.S. audience. If only Superman can find some way to get back in touch with American values, unquote. Which segues into item number 8, Superman walks across America. Does this sound familiar at all?
Yes. This happened after New 52.
No. This happened pre-New 52. This is a pre-Flashpoint story.
Okay.
We've touched on it a few times. Quote, during a press conference to discuss how great he is, a distraught woman walks right up to Superman and slaps him in the face for not being there to save her dying husband from cancer. Did she break her hand?
And
cancer. I didn't realize that Superman had the ability to cure cancer.
Well, he can shoot mini Superman from his hands. Are you really that surprised?
Yes.
Okay. This is just too much for the Man of Steel to handle, so he goes for a long walk. Superman grounded is what would happen if the Man of Tomorrow decided to stop flying around helping people and instead go on a walkabout across the United States. The story was intended to be a 12-issue epic morality tale on heroism in America, but ended up a mishmash of nonsensical gobbledygook involving child abuse, pickup basketball, and Superman referring to himself as a modern-day Thoreau. While it may not reach the levels of insanity dished out by Neil Adams' Batman Odyssey, it follows a similar dive bomb by fundamentally misconstruing everything that made his title character great. In between pranking innocent people and pretentiously lecturing others, Superman goes around solving problems, usually by making them worse. Like when he uses heat vision to burn down a highly explosive meth lab and then asks a 10-year-old boy to give a message to the drug dealers for him. Whoa. Or when he tries to convince a woman not to commit suicide by reminding her John Lennon is dead and then conveys this pearl on the meaning of life. It's not fair, but it's not unfair either. It just is. So in other words, it's pointless. Kind of like this comic, unquote. That sounds awful.
Yeah. Yeah, I have to admit that was poorly planned.
Okay, now this is a story that actually happened, and if it happened nowadays, people would be burning issues of Superman en masse. Item number 7. Lois Lane turns into the fattest girl in Metropolis.
Wow. Really?
Quote, the Superman's Girlfriend Lois Lane series embodies pretty much everything that was wrong with middle-class America in the 50s and 60s, and everything that was ridiculous about the Silver Age of comics. In a story from issue number 5 entitled The Fattest Girl in Metropolis, Lois gets hit by a growth ray that makes her moderately overweight, an embarrassing condition that she spends the next 12 pages trying to hide from Superman for fear he won't love her anymore. It's easy to say that a story like this was the byproduct of an oblivious era, but the fact that somebody thought it okay in any decade is mind-blowing. Luckily, today comics know better than to objectify women by reducing them to a given body type. A few things that should have tipped everyone off to all this was terribly wrong. Having Lois buy her clothes from a place called the Fat Girl Shop, referring to Lois as the rotund reporter. Having a man who can juggle planets with ease express visible difficulty over holding Lois. Oh, and the worst part, Superman rigged the ray gun to make Lois overweight so he could use her to catch some crooks, which means he was just going out of his way to be a prick when he knowingly called her quite a load. And just in case you had any inkling left that Silver Age Superman wasn't a total dirtbag, he apologizes to Lois by saying, I knew you wouldn't consent if I told you, but it was for your own good. Creepy! Unquote.
I can't even.
It's hard to process. That's not even the last item involving Lois Lane, but item number 6 involves Superman turning into Santa Claus and fighting Nazis with a big gun.
I think we got everything we need to know out of that.
I know I just said that statement, and a lot of people are going, none of that makes sense.
And yet, I think I get the picture.
No, you don't. Nope. Quote,
okay.
You would think an Elseworld story from 1995 about a post-apocalyptic future where Superman fights a pair of Hitler clones and an army of mutated Batmen would be awful. Nope. And you'd be right. After a nuclear holocaust destroys civilization 2 times over, Superman is left weakened from a lack of unfiltered sunlight, so he must turn to a comically massive quadruple-barreled Gatling gun to finish World War II. A little late, Super Santa, but okay. Filled with ridiculous characters and a silly plot, the comic misses on the mark on every level. Not least of all in conveying the mixed message that guns are bad by having Superman use the biggest gun ever to kill Double Hitler. But how else is one to stop the DNA dictators after they rob Bruce Wayne's grave and use his dead body to create a monstrous Batman creature? Superman saves the day in the most violent of ways possible, but is fatally shot in the process. Instead of having his cyborg friend save him, he decides to kill himself in a huge bonfire while holding Batman's mutilated corpse to prove the obvious point that everyone dies. On that note, some happier fare, unquote.
Oh, gee. Okay. Wow. I didn't need to know that.
For those of you that just tuned into this section and are a little bit confused by what in the hell is going on, this is a list from ScreenRant.com of the 15 most WTF moments in Superman comics. Item number 5 on this list, if you thought Fat Girl Lois was offensive. Item number 5, Lois Lane turns black, offends everyone. Quote, because trying to turn Lois Lane into the fattest human ever didn't offend enough people, DC decided to turn her black in Superman's Girlfriend Lois Lane number 106. After visiting Little Africa for a story and finding no one wants to talk to her, Little Africa, holy shit.
Really? Wow.
Lois feels really bad for being singled out because of her skin color. Even a blind woman shuns her because Lois' voice sounds white. Ouch. Oh. Being the no-nonsense whitey reporter that she is, Lois decides the only way to make black people like her is to force Superman to use his molecular transmogrifier on her. Is that like next to his interocitor? Add in a couple Namibian tribal beads and presto, acceptance. Lois quickly receives a lesson in the meaning of black as people start staring at her like she's a freak, probably because she looks like she's about to go on a lion hunt. After Lois spends 24 hours moonlighting as a black woman, we get the real crux of the matter. Will Superman marry her? Superman avoids the question long enough for Lois' face to melt off and return to her normal whiteness. We're probably nitpicking here, but we can't help but laugh after seeing this Superman reply, "Yes, Lois, the effect didn't last as long as I expected." Are the exclamation points really necessary? In a single comic, Lois manages to make women, men, whites, blacks, superheroes, and traditional African clothing all look bad. Bravo, unquote.
I don't want to read anything from this title.
These are multiple Superman titles. I don't know what you're talking about.
No, just the ones with, Girlfriend Lois Lane, whatever that thing is called.
Actually, the next item doesn't have to do with Superman or Lois Lane. Item number 4 is Comet the Superhorse's relationship with Supergirl. I've just said that phrase out loud, and I can already hear the fan art beginning to be scribbled. And believe it or not, I've read this paragraph, and that fan art is not that far off.
Elaborate.
Quote, like Batgirl, Supergirl has a tendency to find herself getting creeped on by a lot of people. Or in this case, a horse. Enter Comet the Superhorse, a character who quickly became the focus of all of Supergirl's erotic fantasies. So, things didn't get weird. Comet was written as actually being a telepathic centaur trapped in a horse's body. But the implications of how Supergirl met Comet in Action Comics 292 are still breathtakingly creepy. Basically, after his unfortunate transformation, Comet floats aimlessly around space until one day he spies a rocket pass by with a little baby girl inside. The horse is struck with the baby's beauty and so follows her to Earth, where he watches the girl grow up and bides his time until he can infiltrate her dreams.
Why if someone took this concept and put it into Twilight?
Once finally together, Comet obsesses over hooking up with Supergirl. Through several convoluted means, he eventually gets his wish, getting turned into a human rodeo performer known as Bronco Bill. Oh god, the puns. Supergirl somehow finds him, and both their dreams finally come true. Twice. Sure, these dalliances could be written off as harmless Silver Age fun, but the image of Supergirl riding Comet bareback in a miniskirt, knowing all this, is quite unsettling. Then again, horsies! Unquote. I've seen Comet the Superhorse. I had no idea he was a centaur trapped in a horse's body. Is he a trans horse?
I don't even want to dignify that with a response.
Too late! Okay. You're responding.
Item number 3, Superman films a porno with his friend's wife.
Next.
This is an actual DC story. Quote, you can understand why DC might think combining the words Superman and porno would be a huge hit. But there's just something inherently off-putting about a story where a villain named Sleaze hypno-roofies the Man of Steel into creating a sex tape with his friend's wife so he can make some extra cash. It's around this time that Darkseid breaks into Mr. Miracle's house to drink all of his brandy and hand him a VHS tape of his wife, Big Barda, doing porn in a sewer. Mr. Miracle rushes to save her, though not before a gang of hobos light him on fire and throw him in a river.
What?
Must be Gotham. Must be Gotham. Meanwhile, Sleaze and his fellow classy porn producer try to film the team-up of Big Barda with the Man of Steel. But luckily for Mr. Miracle, Superman sucks at shooting adult fare. Superman's moral fiber causes him to resist Sleaze's influence just long enough for Mr. Miracle to break up the love fest. When asked to explain himself to Mr. Miracle, Superman's only reply is, "My actions were well-intentioned." Classic. It's safe to say that no one was particularly excited about Action Comics number 593. We hope, unquote.
I don't even...
Oh no, save your don't evens, because item number 2 is Superman fantasizing about hooking up with Supergirl. Mind you, unlike Hulk or just like the Hulk and She-Hulk, these are cousins.
Yes.
Quote, Action Comics number 289 is the empowering story of when the most powerful girl in the universe uses all of her abilities to find Superman a wife. It all begins when Supergirl gets worried Superman will end up alone forever. So she tricks him into going back in time with her, because they can do that now, to meet Helena Troy. That backfires when, after fighting a Minotaur and saving a unicorn, Supergirl pisses off Helen. She then tries their luck 1,000 years in the future, but when she cajoles Supes into making out with a married woman and her husband shows up, Superman makes a run for it. Appreciative of her efforts. Really? Superman tells Supergirl he'll never marry because he's just too busy superheroing, but we soon learn the real reason. He secretly wants to be with Supergirl, who's 16, by the way, and his cousin. Superman being the outstanding...
Well, he's from Kansas.
Superman... Well, it's not Alabama. Superman being the outstanding, albeit creepy, Man of Steel that he is, let it go at that, right? Nope. He then rambles on about how it's a shame Kryptonian law doesn't allow cousins to get married, all the while telling Supergirl, "I want you," with his eyes. This gives Supergirl the brilliant idea to find an exact duplicate of herself, only older and on another planet. Superman thinks this is a great idea and immediately starts macking all over legal Supergirl. Finally finding someone he can make a porno with who isn't married, he starts planning a future with his new paramour. Only it turns out she can't survive on Earth, so see ya. In the end, there's a lot of crying. Supergirl flies off to ruin someone else's life, and Superman is left wondering if fate is just telling him to hook up with his cousin already, unquote.
A whole lot... The story...
This story is fucking pointless.
Well, you know, and apparently is preferred to people on Krypton as well as on Earth. Item number 1 in ScreenRant.com's 15 most WTF moments in Superman comics. Superman cries after watching alien space slugs have sex.
Oh, okay. Well, we already know about this one, so moving on.
But there may be people who are turning into their first show.
God, no!
You hate us, don't you?
Hey, dude, every show is someone's first show. Quote, World's Finest Comics number 289 is so horrific it ranks as both Superman and Batman's biggest WTF moments. We'll save you the sappy details, but basically, the Man of Steel invites the Dark Knight over to the Fortress of Solitude to talk about how sad they are. They share their naked feelings and hold hands for a while. That's when the space slugs show up. A meteorite crashes nearby, which turns out to be a spacecraft filled with long, hairy alien slug tentacles that survive by feeding off the feelings of others. One thing leads to another, and the space slugs end up spraying a congealed aura of glowing force all over the two superheroes to suck them of their emotions. Ew. Wanting to get in on the action, another meteor spacecraft soon appears. Once the second craft arrives on the scene and sees their brethren, they all immediately start sticking their tentacles into one another. In a disturbing ritual. Batman and Superman stand back and quietly watch. When the alien orgy finishes 1 hour later... Well, I bet they were watching their watch for that one. The slugs celebrate by growing additional massive hairy offshoots. Ignoring this disgusting transformation entirely, Batman and Superman have a casual conversation with them. Turns out, rather than drain all of the emotions of Earth, the aliens have decided to kill themselves on the spot. The two superheroes try to stop them, but before they get the chance, the aliens vaporize into a pile of sparkling dust, leaving Superman and Batman with nothing to do but cry and then hug over the ashes of the dead alien race, amidst their congealed auras of emotion, which feel warm. What in the holy fuck, unquote. That's a better description than the Batman one. The Batman one was a little too graphic for me.
Can we move on, please?
Actually, I'm enjoying this aura here.
No.
I hate you.
Oh, so you don't want out-of-context D&D quotes? Because I can go on.
All right.
Last up is outofcontextdnd.tumblr.com, where you find out-of-context D&D quotes that by themselves may be the most hilarious thing you've ever heard. How much?
Enough to wipe the taste out of my mouth.
I don't have time for that. How much?
I don't know. At least 15.
Okay. Oh, the first quote is, "You're still thinking about goblin bondage."
Maybe we should invest in some Fanta, Steve.
Yeah.
You like Nazi soda?
Yeah, that's kind of okay with me right now.
The next quote is, "It's like a safe word, but to initiate an action."
Wow.
You think that's wow? I'm never giving this party crabs again.
Yeah.
The next quote... wow, the next quote sounds like it's from Colorado. "Wait, you want to buy weed from us and kill us?" Let's see. How many was that so far? That's 3.
4.
No, that's 4. That's 4. Okay, that's 4. So quote number 5 is, "Wait, are you trying to scare the guard or romance the guard? Either way is cool. I just need to know to plan which room you go into next." Oh. I would guess that the 6th quote would have to be a paladin. "Is the rug itself inherently evil?" The next quote apparently is a DM, then a guard, and then a scion. After about 5 minutes, the closet is ripped open again. It's the same guy. "I thought I told you to get the hell out of this house. I thought I told you that you didn't see me." All I can tell you about quote number 7 is that it came from a transformed rooster.
Transformed into what?
I'm not entirely sure, but the quote itself from this transformed rooster is, "Come at me, Lord of Scrubs, for I am ripped." Quote number 8 is from a female dragonborn wizard.
Okay.
Wow. "Can I use my inspiration to inspire him to get in my pants?"
That's a 5th edition.
Let's see. Quote number 9. "Does my natural 20 tell me that it's Arsinothenium mating season?"
I don't even know.
I don't know what Arsinotherium is.
I have no idea.
Okay. I'm not sure. This is the 10th quote is 2 people talking, although I'm not sure who either of the 2 people are. "I prevented my own kidnapping. You didn't prevent shit."
Okay.
Quote number 11. "Does my hand start talking?"
Huh?
It just says, "Does my hand start talking?" Is this like a scene from? Is this like a scene from the anime Parasite, or is this like Cartman? "I like tacos and burritos." Quote number 12. "I'd have to come out of cover to attack the baby."
Wait. No.
That's exactly what it says. "I'd have to come out of cover to attack the baby."
I think I may have seen this on YouTube.
Let's see. That was number 12. Quote number 13. "He was not an ally when he shot you."
That kind of sounds like a definition I could get behind.
Quote number 14 was from a sorcerer. "I get the feeling that isn't your cup of tea," and throws a vial behind him.
Okay.
And quote number 15. "Do you think we could give the werewolf chemo?"
Chemo.
Chemo.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. Must be some aggressive stuff.
Yeah.
Actually, I'll give you I'll give you one more. This is near the bottom of this page. Quote number 16, because this one is special. You're fine, but this guy's lawful coward over here. The subject of this week is Wakfu 1 through 3, the French animated series. It is an online series. I believe it is. Is it based on a game?
Yes, it is based on a game.
I got that inference from the opening credits, but I wasn't 100% clear on that.
It is a free-to-play game. Yeah,
it follows the story of a young adventurer finding out as an adventurer style that he has secret skills and he needs to find his true family to defend himself against an unknown evil. And I gotta say, based on the video we saw, what we got was not what I was expecting. I guess that the series evolves very massively from season 1 to 2.
I can only assume.
Yeah.
Because the first season, as far as Flash animations go, it's on the upper level, but it's not exactly a full cartoon at this point. At least not in my opinion.
Yeah, I didn't even really... My whole issue with it, I guess I was just expecting, French, Japanese animation or something.
Mm-hmm.
The story was very minimal. They made you, or they assumed that you knew things that they didn't need to explain, and so I'm sitting here going, okay, what is Wakfu? I mean, it's the name of the show. You talk about it in the first, 5 minutes or so, but you never explain it.
Oh, Wakfu is the ethereal energy that flows through life.
I understand that, but they never explain it. They never bother to say, oh yeah, this, it's obviously important. This guy's looking for it. He absorbs it. It keeps him alive.
Well, you might be judging a little prematurely because we saw 3 episodes into a season that was about 12 or 15 episodes.
I know, but at the same time, it just, they mention characters, they mention classes, so on and so forth. It basically, I think they took this from the standpoint of the people watching this are the people that play the game. Once I actually went to Steam and actually looked at the Steam page, then I was like, oh, okay, so this guy running around controlling time, that's a class from the game. That kind of makes sense why they wouldn't be surprised that this guy's running around controlling time.
I didn't read any extra exposition on the series, and I got the inference that this is a known force in their world.
Yeah,
I got the feeling, and I don't even say class. I mean, I got the feeling that guy himself is notorious.
Yeah, and I
don't
know, because people didn't react when he showed up. It wasn't like, oh, you're this guy. It was just kind of like,
well, just because you're aware that something is happening doesn't mean you're perfectly aware of its name. I don't get the feeling he goes around introducing himself to the populace, but I did get the distinct feeling that they were aware that something had been attacking for a while. So I never really got that as an out-of-place type of item.
I don't know. I mean, the reactions to, like, machinery, the humor I can forgive because, again, different cultures, maybe it's just not my thing, so whatever, but yeah, it just...
Well, the inference I got was that the story really was just starting towards probably about the 4th or 5th episode. Because in the 3rd episode, the first 2 episodes seemed to be a whole lot of character moments. They were spending time not necessarily introducing the characters, but just kind of laying them out. And then in the 3rd episode, it seemed like things were gelling. The characters are starting to branch out a little bit more.
Yeah.
As well as starting to gel with each other. I mean, the initial... I don't even remember their names because I watched it within a couple days after our last show. That was 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
But I was starting to really get interested towards the end of the 2nd episode and the beginning of the 3rd. I don't remember their names very well, but I remember a lot of basically who they were. And some of the more interesting characters were this clandestine princess from another nation.
Yeah.
I really like to know her story, especially since it seems like she's more dryadic in nature.
And druidic.
Druidic was the word I was actually looking for. She's a Druish princess. What do you know? No, I actually, by the time I was finished with the 3rd episode, I was curious to see how it developed, but unfortunately this was during a period where I was trying to get some quiet time as well as prepare for Long Beach Comic-Con, so I just haven't delved much further. The third episode especially, I started to giggle a lot.
Oh yeah, that was fun.
That poor merchant.
Yes.
You know, and his wife didn't seem like an inherently bad person, but she just definitely didn't seem to understand him. You know, I especially liked it towards the end of that episode when it was revealed he's the thing that's attacking all the other merchants in the area. He's the one killing his own business. And then when he's talking about how much he just wanted to be an adventurer again is when his wife suddenly yells his name, and then he says, here comes the battle I lost.
This is the battle I've already lost, yeah.
You know, oh, wow. Especially some of the weird scenes where he's just like, okay, now we fight. Hang on, we're still deciding what the rules of this are going to be. And who's going to fight against him? Can we start yet?
No, they were discussing
his name.
Yeah. Was it something sounds more intimidating than the Black Raven, I think it was?
Something so mundane.
The Black Crow or something like that, yeah. That's so pointless.
But this was the one thing they were all fixated upon. Everybody had to get their words in.
I was laughing about that. But, yeah, for the most part, I was unimpressed.
I liked the map. It will not show you where you need to go unless you properly flatter it.
Yes, that was good.
That was a nice concept. Like I said, I didn't think it was a bad show. I just didn't think I'd seen enough of it. It really seemed like the flavor of the show was coming together by the third episode.
I don't know. I still wasn't incredibly impressed even after the third episode. It kind of made me laugh a bit, but at the same time, I was just done with it.
You know what amazed me, though, is that after decades of watching, you know, Japanese cartoons and everything, I was really amazed how fast French moves as a language.
Mm.
You know, the whole thing was subtitled, so I was following it, but because the French speak so generally quickly, or at least quickly throughout this show,
it was
moving
actually
much
a little
faster
bit more difficult to,
the text was moving much faster.
I thought it was just me because of my poor reading skills.
No, I took speed reading in middle school, man. I had a mandatory course in it, so I can read text pretty quick, and this was moving fast for me. I caught it. I didn't need to replay anything, but dude, I had to pay attention. So it's kind of hard to give a full critique of it because, again, I just don't feel like I saw enough of it to really form an opinion, which is kind of surprising in a series that runs 12 to 20 episodes in a season. Usually you get enough story where you get a basic idea.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel like I had as many guests, but I just really didn't figure out the connection between what began the show and where it later developed in the second season.
Yeah,
I think I need to watch more, but I'm not saying it's a recommender. I'm just saying I need to watch more to figure out if I truly like it.
I don't think I'm going to give it that chance.
Jesse, anything?
Going back to the animation, I felt like what their flash animation they're using, it's really good for dynamic poses and action, but for like mundane things like walking, I don't think it carries the impact that walking or I don't think it does walking right or well.
Well, I would like just to flip through the episodes to find out how it changed from that clip, or how it changed from the beginning of the series to that clip we saw. However, I really don't want to risk giving away too many story points that I haven't seen yet.
Mm.
You know, I'm very bad about trying to give myself spoilers, so I'm really anxious about how I need to approach this. I just don't know necessarily what direction to approach this from. I may need to look up if there's some kind of recommended point to begin watching the series.
Mm.
But that's all a personal take.
Yeah. Ultimately, for me, I don't find myself coming back to this, and I think it's the level of maturity there. I think I don't have tolerance for it anymore.
What do you mean?
It seems like it's targeting a much younger demographic than I'm in. That's saying something considering I haven't stopped watching cartoons. But
Equestria! Sorry.
I know, I told you.
Actually, I consider that show far more grown up.
Well, like I said, I don't know. I didn't get enough of it. Really, again, I keep pointing to the third episode, but I think that's when the series started to develop, and it had some humor in it that was about my speed.
I can give you that.
Most of it was mess for me.
Yeah. I just need to see if that's more pervasive of the general tone of the show.
I do know from having researched the game that it is known for humor, but, or its humorous outtake. And it's not that I dislike games like that. I loved the Lunar series, and, it had very memorable humorous moments, but not... Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I've outgrown it, or this just wasn't doing it for me.
Okay. No. I found something to watch, I guess, when the next season of TV goes into its holiday hiatus. Oh, my God. And we got to come up with a plan soon, because in 4 weeks we got to be in Los Angeles. We need to know when we're arriving and stuff.
Yeah.
Let alone, we also have to develop a plan when it comes to December and Great American Comic-Con, December 3rd and 4th in Las Vegas.
Yep.
Because there is housing to settle, as well as what days we're generally going to arrive to do any sort of setup. As a matter of fact, we may need to talk about November a little bit in that vein, but we'll see.
It's not going to be November for me.
Well, I mean, we've been invited out there to do a pre-walkthrough and just talk about whatever space we're going to be inhabiting and how we want it to set up.
Yeah.
I mean, I can probably make it, but I would really prefer somebody else be there, because if I'm the only one making decisions, it's all going to be based on my own preferences.
Right. Yeah. I know that work-wise for me, I need to put in as much work as possible.
Yeah.
Before I start getting into this season, because it's going to be...
And a trip to Vegas for me that's one hell of a road trip.
It's not any fun from here either. All right. I was spending a little bit of time trying to think about next week. I think next week we're going to do a throwback series.
Okay.
Because I have referenced a couple of times one of my favorite comics that I remember reading, and I'd like to see if it still holds up. It's a Marvel series. It's one that only lasted a year, but it left a really big impression on me, and that's Captain Britain and MI-13. It is
Sounds interesting.
It's just after the Secret Invasion. The Skrulls had attempted to attack Britain because they've determined that Britain is the focal point of all magic in the Marvel Universe. Captain Britain was reborn and counterattacked in there. It involved some heroes that would be known from the latter part of Excalibur, as well as a bunch of new characters that popped up during that period. And even the Black Knight was a member of this particular squad. So I think it's one of those kind of even keel places, because it involves a leg of the Marvel Universe that, even if you understand its lore, it's not something you hear about a whole lot. Sound good?
Yeah, sure.
All right.
I mean, I read Excalibur back in the day. Enjoyed it.
I remember this being a very different series. So next week it'll be Captain Britain and MI-13. Thank you very much for tuning in. Sorry if the show's a little long, but we have not heard from each other in 3 freaking weeks. There was a lot of stuff that had to be discussed. Thank you very much for tuning in. Have a great one. I am Jeremy.
Steve.
And Jesse.
Don't jerk and drive. Take care.
Still hate you, Jeremy.
You love me.